Chapter 930. When the lanterns covered in oil were held up to illuminate the south gate of Hongnong County, when the torches made crackling sounds in the drizzle, Zhang Xiaobei's team appeared in the line of sight of the people who came out of the city to welcome them. Perhaps the heavens were also afraid of the murderous aura under Xiaobei's tender face, or perhaps it was a coincidence. In any case, when Zhang Xiaobei held the flashlight and waved it, the drizzle suddenly stopped. The sky that had been gloomy for many days also cleared up at this time. Only a small part of the sky was clear. There were no dark clouds in that part of the sky, and it revealed the crescent moon of the 8th lunar month, as well as a few dark stars that were covered by the moonlight. They blinked and blinked like mischievous eyes. The people who came out of the city to welcome the two little ancestors of the Zhang family and Wang family were dumbfounded. They clearly knew that the moonlight shone on everyone, but they didn't know why, but they felt that the clouds opened for the 9 children, and the stars and moon lit up for them. When the bright light shone on the 9 children, their purple clothes became bright, and the gold and silver fish bags that didn't follow the rules complemented each other. It made everyone feel that they were the most adorable children in the world. Ha! Ha! It's sunny! Xiaobei's small feet wearing official boots stamped in the water as he shouted happily. Suddenly, he thought of something and shouted in an even louder voice, "The place that the Emperor sent us to patrol, where the Emperor's grace is, the clouds open and the moon is bright." After shouting, Xiaobei reached out and poked Wang Xiaoyuan, whispering, "It's your turn. Say something nice. What if it rains again later?" Xiaoyuan hesitated. "We'll talk about it when it rains. Hurry, you have to go up at the critical moment," Xiaobei urged. Xiaoyuan composed himself, his mind turning quickly, and he took a deep breath. Finally, he came up with something to say and shouted, "Alas, the human world, the common people are in a terrible situation, the water is evil, the roots are broken, the children are sleeping, and the wails of grief fill the sky. How can it be the past? My emperor is in the palace, his heart is sad, he is a lowly official, he has to investigate, the mighty face of the dragon, the righteous spirit is surging, the clouds open, the moon appears, the mid-autumn festival is coming." Many commoners did not understand what Xiaoyuan was saying. They only knew that it was praising the emperor, so they all knelt down to express their gratitude. "Don't kneel, don't kneel. There's water on the ground. If you live well, Uncle Emperor will be happy. When we came here, Uncle Emperor couldn't eat or sleep. He said to me, 'Xiaobei, go to the place and catch the bad officials first. Then, compensate for the losses of my good people. Only enough, not enough. If there's not enough money, pay from the palace. If one person doesn't make good arrangements, I won't eat meat for a day.'" Xiaobei was frightened by this situation. He helped her up with heartache while spouting nonsense. Almost all the citizens did not know that Xiaobei was lying. Only Wang Wei, who had followed them out, knew that the country had money. Xiaobei was lying, but he did not dare to expose him. Otherwise, if Xiaobei remembered him, the consequences would be very serious. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had rushed over from the train station in the dark, happened to see this scene. In terms of talent, Xiaoyuan is much better than Xiaobei. Wang Wan praised her brother. "The talent you're talking about is just literary talent, right? It can't be compared to ability." Zhang Xiaobao did not admit that his sister could not compare to Wang Wan's brother. "Literary talent is sometimes a kind of ability." "Yes, that's why Xiaoyuan is suitable to be a secretary. Xiaobei is a waste of talent if she is not a leader. TSK, officials are so hypocritical." "Yes, I admit that. Especially officials who rely on their family's connections to enter the 2nd Division of the Emergency Response Department. I've also done practical things there. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about my sister. Xiaobei, this child who doesn't know how to do practical things, is quite accurate at catching people. When the moon came out, I felt that there was a silver circle on her head. That's definitely not your sister. You have horns on your head. It's black." Xiaobei did not realize that her brother and sister had arrived and was busy arguing. She was busy helping people, and the people who followed her also went to help. Xiaobei quickly took on the role of a leader, but compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, she was more practical. After helping someone up, she sincerely said to them, "Don't worry, no matter how big the loss is, His Majesty will compensate you. Not a single egg will be missing. If your family's land doesn't produce any crops this year, you will compensate according to the highest yield of the nearby area during the autumn harvest. If your family's cow goes missing and is about to give birth, you will compensate with a calf." Xiao Yuan was frightened when she heard that. She softly asked Xiao Bei, "Then if my family was doing business before the disaster and could earn 1,000 strings of coins a month, would you compensate me?" "Yes, I'll compensate you even if it's 10,000 strings of coins. Not only will I compensate you, but I'll also remember you," Xiao Bei whispered back. "Why are you threatening people? If you want to compensate, you have to be fair." "Why should I be fair? I'm not a scale. There's no way to truly compensate for this kind of thing. What I want to do is to compensate the majority of the people in the county with their assets. For the few rich people, I'll only compensate them with what they lost before. A family has 2 cows, 1 male and 1 female. Do you know what it means to have an additional calf? If a village has 2 additional cows, do you know what it means? However, for a rich person, I can just compensate him with the original amount of money. He won't eat less meat or wear bad clothes because of a lack of income for a period of time. Just like us, we work hard to be obedient, study hard, and then get rewarded. The money added up is quite a lot, right? Is that money useful to us? We only want to make our grandparents, parents, brothers, and sisters happy. At the same time, we are better than people of our age." Xiao Bei's words were similar to that of an adult. Xiao Yuan thought about it and nodded. Rich people don't care. Besides, they know the ways of the world, so they don't dare to care. That's it. I've already thought about it. Not only do I want to compensate, I want to compensate more. Every village will have to compensate 4 more cows. Xiao Bei stretched out her small white hand and waved 4 fingers in front of Xiao Yuan. "Why do you want to compensate more?" Xiao Yuan also stretched out 4 fingers. "Are you stupid? Don't you listen to your brothers and sisters? This is called political meaning, understand? Hong Nong suffered a disaster this year, and Uncle Emperor values him. We can't value him for nothing. Naturally, wherever Uncle Emperor values, that place must be powerful. Even if there's a disaster here and there are more cows, the land will be easier to plant next year. This shows that Uncle Emperor's favor is very useful." Xiao Bei continued to wave her fingers and explained to Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan cupped her hands in admiration and said, "It's been hard on you." "It's nothing special." Xiao Bei lowered her head and smiled bashfully. Stop him, don't let him escape." While Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan were talking in low voices, there was a commotion not far away. When the 2 of them went over, they realized what was happening. It turned out that Yan Zhang had run toward the city wall when no one was paying attention. Unfortunately, his hands were tied and he couldn't control his balance well. He tripped in the pit under the water that reached his ankles. Then, he was held down and couldn't move. The people in the city thought that he was going to run, but Wang Wei knew that Yan Zheng didn't want to run. He wanted to bang his head against the wall. For him, the greatest happiness in the world right now was to die. Wang Wei also went over to take a look at Yan Zheng. At this time, one side of Yan Zheng's face had been scraped and scratched. Streaks of scars were washed by the water flowing down his head, but he didn't feel the pain at all. He turned his head numbly and looked behind him. Wang Wei's first thought was that this Yan Zhang had a good understanding of the Zhang family and Wang family. He understood the way the 2 families did things and understood the status of the 2 families in Tang. He must have been in a hurry to commit suicide after hearing Xiao Bei's words about compensating the people of Hongnon County. The reason was very simple. People who knew the 2 families knew that the so-called compensation was not paid by the imperial court, and the imperial court couldn't mobilize enough materials in a short time. Then, only the Zhang family and Wang family could show their ability to organize logistics once again. They used their own reserves and logistics to support Hongnon County. Then, there was a problem. Would the emperor really take out cash to give the Zhang family and Wang family? It would be difficult. Not to mention the preferential policy in exchange. Even if the emperor insisted on it, no one could do anything. Xiao Bei kept calling him Uncle Emperor. Whether it was outside or in the morning court of Xingqing Palace and Hanyuan Palace, the emperor had never objected. Every time he would happily agree. Since Uncle Emperor was short of money, why couldn't the juniors, as nieces and nephews, give some pocket money? Yes, pocket money. If the 9 little guys took out their pocket money, it would be enough to support the compensation of Hongnong County. Therefore, the money would probably fall on Xiao Bei and the others, who asked her to agree on her own accord. How could she torture Yan Zheng to vent her anger? So, Yan Zheng should be afraid. Xiao Bei didn't think too much at the moment. She waded in the water and looked down at Yan Zheng, saying, "Why are you running? You dare to do and you dare to admit." Yan Zheng tried to straighten his upper body that was stepped on by others. He turned his head and said in a hoarse voice, "I want to see the emperor. I have something to say." "You have something to say?" Xiao Bei asked. Then, she turned to the 2 girls and asked, "Guess what he is going to say?" The 2 girls had been with Xiao Bei for several years. Under the influence of her, they knew a lot of things. Hearing Xiao Bei's question, the 2 girls looked at each other. Then, they said, "He will definitely curse the emperor when he sees him. Let the emperor kill him in anger, even if he is cut into 2 pieces. At least it's better than falling into our hands." "Did you hear that?" Xiao Bei asked Yan Zheng, whose eyes were full of shock. Without waiting for Yan Zheng to answer, she continued, "Okay, you can see Uncle Emperor, but not now. Now I will put you outside the south gate of Hongnong County and torture you for at least a month. Then, I will go to the capital with you to see the emperor. I will stay with Uncle Emperor. If the emperor wants to kill you, I will stop him and propose to put you in Hanyuan Palace Hall and outside Xingqing Palace. Every time there is a morning court or when Uncle Emperor summons people, I will let the officials take a good look at you. Oh, when the examinees meet the emperor after the imperial examination, you will also be invited to appear. Don't play tricks with me. It's useless. I am soft-hearted. When I think of the scene of the flood washing away other people's parents and the scene of a child about the same age as me crying out for his parents in a dream, I feel like someone is cutting me with a knife. So, I want to vent my anger on you. I feel bad, so I can't let you have an easy time. Also, my brother and sister said that you are delaying their autumn imperial examination, so Uncle Emperor asked for the autumn imperial examination to be postponed for a month. There are so many examinees, and now they have to rely on our family to support them. They have to eat well, live well, and we have to prepare the 4 treasures of the study for them. Yan Zheng, you are too much. Yan Zheng was stunned. He suddenly realized that his son and daughter, whom he was proud of, were no longer smart. Compared to the children of the Zhang family and Wang family, they were clearly fools. Xiao Yuan, who was at the side, timely interrupted, "Yes, you should feel honored that you can actually ask my brother and sister to come. How big of a face do you have? It is comparable to the millions of heroic soldiers of Tubo, not weaker than the heroes of the tribes in the north of Hebei province. It is like the elite cavalry of the grassland Tujue. If I had known it would be like this, I would have arranged a position for you at the sword meet of Mount Hua. So, you can rest assured that you will not die. Be good and live on strong." When these words were said, Yan Zheng dejectedly buried his head in the water again. He was immediately pulled up, afraid that he would drown. When these words were said, the people of Hongnong were moved. They did not expect that the emperor would actually send Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. At this point, all the children of the Zhang family and Wang family were all present. The people suddenly felt that even if the imperial court did not compensate them, it was fine. A county was enough for the emperor to value it so much. The destroyed home, they could rebuild it themselves. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not continue to hide in the dark and walked out together. Zhang Xiaobao first patted his brother and sister's head, then looked at Yan Zheng with a cold face and said, "I really admire your courage. You think that everything will be fine after you send your family to Japan, right? I will let you know that some things can't be done, and some roads can't be turned back. I happen to lack an excuse to attack Japan with force. I hope the Japanese can continue to protect your family." After that, Zhang Xiaobao ignored Yan Zheng, who was scared out of his wits, and looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan tightly pursed her lips and looked around. With a smile at the corner of her mouth, she said in a soft voice, "Order the Tibetan underground cavalry camp to take care of Gua province. Order the Hunan province garrison army to seal off all provinces and counties in Hunan province. Order the Bohai Sea Commandery Army to cut off the Tang Empire's Hunan province. Order the Tang Empire to enforce martial law within 100 nautical miles of the Hunan province coastline." There was no trace of anger in her words, but in the ears of the people around, it was like a clap of thunder. There was blood, and it was fatal. As expected. The emperor did not send Xiao Bao and Cuckoo here to play. Devilish Cuckoo smiled. Someone was going to die. The people who knew the legend of Devilish Cuckoo were first frightened, then relaxed, and then became comfortable. Cuckoo only killed bad people. Zhang Xiaobao continued, "From now on, I will stay in Hongnong and rebuild the home with everyone. As long as it is not rebuilt, I will not return to the capital to participate in the autumn imperial examination." The people immediately cheered, but there were a few people in the crowd who looked worried. Chapter 931. It began to rain again. Not only did the rain not stop in Hongnong County, but also in the capital, Chong'an, Hunan, and many other places, as well as the autumn harvest, which was supposed to be sunny, were also dripping with rain. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were in Hongnong County, but their hearts were all over the Tang Empire. No matter what kind of crop it was not a good thing to be drenched by rain in the autumn harvest. Some would rot, and some would sprout directly. It shouldn't be just a matter of calming down after the price of necessities has skyrocketed, and it shouldn't be passed on to the people. Officials who know that there is a disaster but don't act first and wait until the disaster is serious should be killed. Zhang Xiaobao did not want to waste his energy on Yan Zheng, a person who had a death wish that was harder than stepping on the heavens. He picked up Xiao Bei and walked towards the city. At the same time, he spoke to Wang Wan, who had disregarded her status and kicked Yan Zheng. Wang Wan picked up her brother and followed beside him. "It's okay. Now that the country has abundant resources, all the warehouses are full. We'll be in charge of allocation and let the people of the big companies help. When the disaster is over, we'll give them some convenience when they develop overseas." I'll help too. Xiao Bei turned his head and waved his little fist to show his presence. Wang Wan smiled and pinched Xiao Bei's chubby face. "Our Xiao Bei is awesome. Patrol Inspector Zhang Xiaobai, listen to my orders." "Yes." Xiao Bei first put on a serious face, then smiled and hugged his brother's neck. "What's so fun about this? Organize the children under the age of 12 in Hongnong County. Don't disturb the adults when they are rebuilding their homes. Can you complete the task?" Wang Wan said loudly. "I promise to complete the task." Xiao Bei also replied loudly. Then he muttered softly, "You're treating me like a child again. Okay, I'll go coax the child." Zhang Xiaobao's team walked forward, and the people on the road automatically made way for them. At this moment, many people found that their mood had changed. They were no longer depressed or angry. The rain didn't stop, the flood was still raging, and the lost property didn't suddenly come back. But for some reason, there was a kind of relaxed feeling. It was as if even if the sky fell down, everything would be fine, even better than before the disaster. Li Bai, who was carrying his sick body, rushed to Wang Wei's side. After observing the expressions of the people, he sighed, "Brother Mojie, it has changed. It has all changed." Wang Wei nodded in agreement. "That's true. The 11 treasures of the Zhang family and Wang family are all here. It can be seen how important Hongnong is to His Majesty. If he can't do this, who else can? When will we be able to do that?" Li Bai did not say anything more. He looked around and remembered that he still had work to do. Dragging his weak body, he continued to arrange for reinforcements everywhere. It didn't take long for someone to come over and take Li Bai's pulse and auscultate. In the end, the two doctors combined their opinions and took the current situation into consideration. They decided to use intravenous drips to treat Li Bai. The two of you have worked hard. Why don't you take a seat and rest? Li Bai followed the tube from the bottle to the needle that was inserted into the blood vessel in his hand. He didn't know what kind of glue was used to make the doctor stay. We don't have time. There are other people waiting for help. The male doctor of the two doctors, who was in charge of traditional Chinese medicine, did not appreciate his kindness at all. He waved his hand and was about to leave. Li Bai hurriedly stopped him. Don't. I have to know what disease I have. You don't need to know what disease you have. You just need to know that the people who have been treated by me will definitely be cured. The male doctor said confidently. Seeing that the two doctors were about to leave, Li Bai stopped them again. I temporarily conscripted you. You wait. Who will pull out the tube for me later? The water in the bottle has reached the bottom. Pull it out yourself and press it with a cotton ball. You are a man, but you are more timid than a woman. The female doctor finally couldn't help but turn around and criticize Li Bai. As for Li Bai's conscription, the two doctors did not care at all. No one could command the people of the Zhong family and Wang family without an imperial edict. Looking at the doctor who was gradually disappearing in the rain, Li Bai sighed and said to himself, "Sure enough, there is no good doctor. Medical ethics, medical ethics. A doctor should have the heart of a parent. Ma-san, come here. Find the original doctor of the medical center in the city and pull out the tube for me later." Ma-san was sweating profusely after running around. When he heard Li Bai calling him, he saw that it was a small matter like pulling out the needle. He held back his helplessness and said, "Sir, I will pull it out for you later. The people in the medical center are all busy. That bastard Yen Zheng has made the people in the county suffer. When I passed by the south gate just now, I took a glance and was really tortured there. Now the officials have no medical ethics, and the doctors have no medical ethics. I don't trust you to pull it out. You should at least tell me what disease you have." Li Bai was still worried. "My lord, why don't you go back to the inn and rest? I'll get someone to prepare a bowl of ginger water for you. Take a nap and you'll definitely recover when you wake up. When I'm done here, I'll look for the doctor and ask him what's wrong with you. I won't give up until I know the truth." This is not necessary. He said that I don't know how to use the medicine. Looking at how confident he is, he should be a famous doctor. Li Bai no longer entangled himself with the pathology of his body and sent Ma-san away. Suddenly, he thought about it. Not to mention the doctor's medical skills, at least his confident attitude made people feel at ease. Oh, this is the gap between us. I also need to be confident. Li Bai seemed to have a better understanding of things. He looked up at the bottle hanging high up and pretended to be calm as he commanded. Wang Wei did not know where Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan went. He did not chase after them to report the situation to the county. He thought that there was a special intelligence officer in charge of reporting. At this time, Wang Wei was at the south gate, directing people to pave the road for the convenience of passage. With the arrival of Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan, all kinds of materials collected from other places began to be transported to Hongnong. Some of the food that came with Xiaobei had already been transported into the city. The road at the south gate was even worse. Wang Wei stood at the gate to coordinate. The overall command of the county was naturally handed over to Zhong Xiaobao. Wang Wei never thought that he could do better than Zhong Xiaobao. It was said that when Zhang Zhong first came to Luzhou, the person in charge of the distribution of materials was not Zhang Zhong. It was his eldest son, Zhong Xiaobao, who was not even 10 years old. According to witnesses, at that time, the flood was monstrous, dark clouds covered the world, and the faint cry of a dragon could be heard. It was afraid that it was ordered to come from the immortal court and punish the world. Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo pointed to the sky and asked the immortals if they dared to fight. The dragon retreated in fear, the clouds dispersed, and the moon and stars appeared. It is said that it is just a rumor. What does the house in the sky look like? Ah. Wang Wei muttered and looked at the sky. Suddenly, he sneezed. Only then did he remember that he had not taken the medicine given by the doctor. He walked to a place at the gate where hot water was boiled. He poured the medicine into his mouth and reached out for half a bowl of hot water. Then, he took 2 deep breaths and swallowed the medicine with water in his mouth. He felt much more relieved. It would be better if there was a skewer of mutton. Chicken is fine too. After taking the medicine, Wang Wei faintly smelled the aroma of roasted meat. He looked at the person who was boiling the water and said with a smile, "My uncle is an official. My uncle is an official." Suddenly, he heard someone beside him and felt his trouser leg being pulled. Wang Wei looked down. He saw a little boy holding a skewer of meat and looking up at him. The skewer was filled with pieces of meat dripping with oil. No wonder it smelled so good. Wang Wei sniffed uncontrollably and gave the little boy a smile that he thought was the most sincere. The little boy's face that was still stained with dirt also turned into a flower. "Uncle Officer, I will treat you to meat skewers. I was wrong last time. Now I know that there are good things in being an official." After hearing the little boy's words, Wang Wei recognized who he was. It was the little boy whose family specialized in barbecuing meat skewers. At that time, he said that there was no good in being an official and ran into the rain with anger and disappointment toward the whole Tang Empire. No matter how hungry Wang Wei was, he could not snatch the food from the little boy. He said with a smile, "So my position is good?" "Yes, yes. It is good. Eat the meat. I roasted it. I am full. I roasted it especially for Uncle. Each piece is 1/3 of the muscle, 1/3 of the fat, and 1/3 of the lean meat. Haha. If Uncle doesn't eat it, I will throw it away. I will really throw it away." The little boy introduced the meat and pretended to throw it away. He looked at Wang Wei with longing eyes. Wang Wei was indeed hungry. He looked at the meat skewers and said, "Eat half of it and give the other half to people who need it more. Uncle can't eat more." Then he asked, "How do you know Uncle's position is good?" The little boy nodded and gave half of the stick to Wang Wei. Then he answered, "Because Uncle swallowed when he smelled the barbecued meat. An official who is not a good person would be sick of eating meat. He would not be greedy." Just because of this? Wang Wei did not agree. "Not really. There is more important. You were not caught by the Zhang family and the Wang family. You came back with Patrol Inspector Xiaobei. So your position is good, while the bad ones are suffering." While speaking, the little boy used the remaining stick to point at Yan Zheng, who was placed at the door. He was thinking about what to do to successfully commit suicide. Wang Wei did not know whether to laugh or cry. The little boy's thinking was too simple. He actually used this reason to judge whether an official was good or bad. Didn't it mean that Zhang Xiaobei represented the justice of the world? Is it not? The little boy asked Wang Wei. "Yes, you're absolutely right. Now that you've mentioned it, I've realized that it's indeed the case. You've wasted years of cold and heat without knowing the Lord earlier. Therefore, you have to listen to the good things among the officials. Find a place to take shelter from the rain and don't get sick." What else could Wang Wei say? He had to coax the little boy away first. The little boy nodded understandingly. "Then I will go. I will go with Patrol Inspector Xiaobei to save the children in other villages. They are waiting for us. Uncle, don't be sad. I will definitely learn from you." Looking at the little boy's figure disappearing in the rain, Wang Wei shook his head. This day. He took another bite of the barbecued meat in the rain and smacked his lips. "It tastes better than last time. The people in the Yamen really don't know how to barbecue meat. They are indeed professionals." While he was talking to himself, Wang Wei strolled in front of Yan Zheng and waved the stick in his hand. "County Magistrate Yan, I'm afraid I won't be able to take away the benefits from playing mahjong. I wanted to put in a good word for you, but who would have thought that a child who gave me meat skewers would say that I'm a good official? A good official naturally can't speak up for a bad official. That child's family barbecued meat and raised a lot of livestock that they were going to kill for barbecued meat. You killed his livestock, so I'm being generous. Come, I'll let you smell it. It smells good. When I return to the capital, I'll help you in Hanyuan Palace. Chapter 932. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's take a break first. Everyone, listen to me. We have a difficult task now, and that is to rescue the trapped children in Old Willow Village. At the same time, we will help the locals rebuild their homes. The terrain there is high, so we will stay there for a while. Is there anyone who is afraid or misses their parents? In order to make room for reconstruction in the county town, Xiao Bei led more than 300 children out of the county town so that the adults would not be distracted. Unfortunately, after running for less than 3 miles, some children cried for their parents. Xiao Bei had no choice but to stop and use his talent to trick a group of children under the age of 12 into obeying him. The children above the age of 12 stayed in the county town to help. Seeing Xiao Bei stop and hold the loudspeaker in his hands, the crying children almost instantly quieted down. Alternating between crying and laughing was the ability of every child. Xiao Bei smiled with satisfaction. He swept his eyes around and pointed at a little boy in the group. He continued to shout, "I see a little boy who is not a man. He is still wiping his tears. So embarrassing. He can't even compare to us girls. That's him." I didn't." The boy who was pointed at could not bear the stares of the group of children. He hurriedly explained and rubbed his eyes. "The wind is strong. Sand got into my eyes. No, it's raining now. How can there be sand? Shame, shame." A little girl beside him did not believe him. "Yes, there was a gust of wind just now. You ran with your head down, so you didn't see it." The little boy made a threatening look. "I ran with my head up just now. Shame, shame. You can't compare to us girls." The little girl was not stupid. She hid behind another child and used her fingers to scratch her face. "Are you looking for a beating?" The little boy flew into a rage out of humiliation. He clenched his fist and waved it. "Idiot Nyo, how dare you? If you dare to hit her, I will tell my father that my restaurant does not accept your family's tofu, even if the price is cheap. My father said that your tofu can only be steamed and cannot be fried. Once it is fried, it will break." Another little girl stood out to defend the injustice. "That means my tofu is tender." The little boy also knew how to find a way out. He was very smart to find an excuse for his family's tofu. Tender actually meant that there was a lot of water. Other people's tofu could be made from 1 kilogram of beans, and his family's tofu could be made from 1 kilogram of beans. After listening for a while, Xiao Bei said, "There was indeed a gust of wind just now. If you don't know whether what he said is true or not, you will continue watching, right?" "Yes." The group of children yelled. Xiao Bei was very satisfied. At the same time, he felt that the other party was really a child. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't have followed suit. "I'm really not crying. When my tofu shop opens, I'll treat you to it," the little boy added. "Xiao Bei, Xiao Bei, Xiao Bei, Xiao Bei, go back to the road. Xiao Bei, go back." As for whether or not he could eat the tofu that the little boy's family had grinded for him, it didn't matter. Xiao Bei knew that his family made their own tofu. 1 kilogram of beans could make more than 4 kilograms of tofu. If they used gypsum to make the tofu, it would not be a problem to make 6 kilograms. It was the same for beans. The reason was all in the process. The amount of bean dregs, the amount of water added, and the amount of soy milk in the water lost when pressing the tofu were all very important. Of course, 6 kilograms of tofu from 1 kilogram of beans was not suitable for making fermented bean curd or stinky tofu. Otherwise, it would all fly when soaked in the brine. Xiao Bei was satisfied with the children's obedience. As he walked, he thought about whether he should tell others about the process of making tofu, but he could not make up his mind. Seeing Xiao Yuan, who was reciting a book while walking, Xiao Bei poked him with his finger. "Xiao Yuan, I just thought about making tofu. Should I tell others how to make more tofu? I am in a dilemma." "Oh, tell them." Xiao Yuan turned his head and glanced at the children. Without waiting for Xiao Bei to answer, he said, "Since brother and sister put you in charge of this, you can make the decision. Even if it is wrong, brother and sister will agree. For example, when you went to Jian and County to be the county magistrate, as long as you didn't kill the people in the county, it didn't matter how much we made. Even if the people in the county lost everything or their houses, it wouldn't be a problem. Brother and sister will naturally compensate for it. Fortunately, we succeeded at that time. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for us to come out and play again. We have never made any big mistakes, so we can still come out and be patrollers. So, if you want to tell us the secret of producing more tofu, just tell us. After you tell us, even if you make a mistake, brother and sister will smooth things over. The one who developed the process will have to compensate." Yes, it was made by a carpenter's wife under the guidance of brother and sister. We have already rewarded her family, but the reward is not for the ownership of the tofu production process, but for the spirit of research that succeeded. Although everything made by the inner yard belongs to the main family, including the people of the inner yard, our family situation is a little special. There is a problem of reputation. The person who made the product will enjoy most of the glory, which is the right of authorship, and a small part of the benefits. For example, if I tell Sister Pomegranate and Sister Xiao Hong, how will I compensate their reputation? Xiao Bei knew a lot about this. He was not worried about money, but only about reputation. This was mainly due to the propaganda of the Zhang family and Wang family to the inner yard, especially the protection team. They emphasized that, "Glory is my life," and it was the same for most of the Tang Empire's army. Therefore, the inner yard of the Zhang family pursued reputation far more than money. Earning a small part of the money was to better survive, while earning a lot of money was to show one's ability. The behavior was the same, and the result was the same, but the starting point was different. "Why don't we discuss it with brother and sister?" Xiao Yuan suggested. "We'll talk about it later. If it really doesn't work, we'll publish a book and get the tofu maker to write down all the methods and use her name." Xiao Bei was conflicted between helping others increase the production of tofu and the reputation of the inner yard. He could only think of a way to publish a book. The group continued to move forward, toward Old Willow Village, which was actually higher in altitude. Old Willow Village did have children, but Xiao Bei's goal was not to fetch the children, but to settle down the children around them in the village. At the same time, they would help take care of the original children in the village and free up the villagers to help with the construction of the county. Old Willow Village was high, so as long as it was not near the riverside, it would be impossible to reach it. Therefore, if Yan Zhang wanted to plunder the property, he could only use force. However, the entire village had the surname Lu. Although the villagers were not brave enough to rebel, if you bullied one person, the entire village would do it. Old Willow Village did not have many fields for farming. It was a hilly terrain with willow trees all over the hills. The villagers relied on the willow wood to make simple utensils and furniture that were not very good at preserving to survive. The villagers' willow weaving was especially good. Together with the willow mushrooms and firewood, life in the village was not bad. Now that the Tang Empire encouraged breeding, the willow trees had become a natural home for chickens. The villagers used willow branches to weave baskets and place them horizontally under the trees. The chickens would go into the baskets to raise their offspring. Zhang Xiaobao was interested in the villagers' basket weaving skills. He found them to weave baskets and fill them with stones to repair the embankment. Xiao Bei shouldered the task of persuading the villagers to come out and help. At the same time, he brought the children in the county to hide in Old Willow Village. The children walked in the middle, and the seedling protection team stood guard on both sides. Xiao Bei and the other 9 children's seedling protection team did not stay in the county to help. Not only did the number of people not decrease, but there were also a few more doctors. To Zhang Xiaobao, the safety of his family was more important. He would not put his family in danger to save others first. I announced that it's time to eat. When it was almost noon, Xiao Bei gave the order. The tired children cheered as if they had instantly recovered their strength. It was very magical. The children were not hungry. They had eaten a lot of meat floss brought by Xiao Bei in the first hour. They were thinking about the lunchbox that the Zhang family and Wang family had prepared for the inner courtyard, the kind that could be heated with water. The members of the protection team set up a temporary shelter and used the water they carried with them to heat up the lunchboxes. Since the portions were large, the two children had to share one portion. Together with the fruits that were abundant in autumn, the nutritious meal was ready to be eaten. There was a lot of fighting during the process. He ate a piece of meat less, he lied to her that the chili was delicious, and she cried because of the spiciness. There were many other things. Xiao Bei did not have the slightest intention of stopping him. Instead, he joined in the fight. In order to trick a boy, he ate 2 chili in a row. In the end, the boy was fooled and grimaced because of the spiciness. Xiao Bei breathed out and drank half of the cold water in his stomach. He forced the rice that he could not eat to be pushed to Xiao Yuan so that Xiao Yuan could not stop chewing hawthorn pills during the journey. Around 5 in the afternoon, they arrived at the boundary of Old Willow Village. In front of them was a river that was about 90 feet wide. 7 iron chains swayed in the wind and rain on the river. The 7 iron chains were one on each side of the river. The bridge was 5, and the distance between them was more than a foot. The bridge was bare and there were no planks. On the other side of the river, they could vaguely see villagers weaving willow webs diagonally into the water. When fish flowed along the river, they would accidentally get stuck in the net. After their gills passed through the holes in the net, they would not be able to move forward or backward due to their large bodies. They would then be pulled up and placed in a wicker basket. Looking at the flowing water under the bridge, Xiao Bei scratched his head. He picked up a bumpy soil and threw it down. Looking at the speed of the water, he took a deep breath and said, "It will be very tiring to jump in and swim across." Xiao Yuan looked down at the water and shook his head. "If there is one person in our team who can swim across, it will be you. I can't. This is not a matter of who is good at swimming, it is a matter of who is lucky. Then find a board and let someone lay it down?" I guess the board was deliberately removed by the villagers to prevent the people sent by Yan Zheng from crossing the river. Look, it was even built by my family's Vangjing construction group. Write it down. Xiao Bei found a record of the bridge on the pier of the bridge. Those who were close to it looked. Indeed, there was a line of words engraved on it. Vangjing Construction Group is passing by. The villagers raised their own money to build it for free. The iron chains were not built by my family. They probably used some cement. Looks like the money that Zhangjing Construction Group earned in Hongnong County was all spent. Otherwise, why would they let the village pay for the iron chain bridge? Xiao Yuan analyzed. Yes. My family's Vangjing Construction Group is not a profit-making department. Its role is to support the workers by helping the family earn a good reputation. It is also a training department for engineers. Zhang Fang, who did not like to talk, used her hand to stroke the words. Xiao Bei lifted his leg and kicked the pier twice. The problem now is how to cross. Carry them one by one? I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Xiao Zhu, who also did not like to talk, pursed her lips and said softly, "Why don't we learn from the stories that brother and sister tell when they are chatting?" Chapter 933. When the members of the seedling protection team stood in a straight line, the people who were fishing on the other side of the river stopped what they were doing and looked in their direction in confusion. The fishermen in Old Willow Village naturally saw the arrival of so many people. It would be a lie to say that such a large team of adults and children was not attractive. The people in Old Willow Village did not know what so many people were planning. At first, they thought they were just passing by, but when they saw them stop at the pier of the bridge, they guessed they were preparing to cross the river. "Third Grandpa, they want to cross the river. Where are the planks we removed from the bridge? Don't let any children fall." A young man in his 20s among the fishermen looked at the person next to him and asked. In fact, he wanted to help. He knew where the planks were placed. The person he called Third Grandpa was the village chief and also the head of the Liu family. At the same time, he was the only person in the village with the status of a high scholar. He was stubborn and xenophobic, so the young man was worried that he would not agree. The truth was just as he guessed. The old man did not show any intention of helping. He said, "I used it to build a shed for the chickens. I can't take it out. Those people don't know how to find a place to hide from the rain. Instead, they brought a group of children to play. Do you know who they are? They might be kidnappers. Go and call for help. Our old willow village is not a place where just anyone can come and cause trouble." "Third grandpa, they don't look like bad people to me." The young man did not want to get into a fight. "What? Did they carve words on their faces? Go." The old man was obviously angry. "Ah." The young man agreed and turned to run into the village. However, he had just run less than 30 steps when the old man's voice sounded again. "Wait and see. Aya, where did they come from? It's strange." When the young man heard the order, he stopped and turned to look. He was stunned by what he saw. He saw 3 rows of people walking out of the crowd on the opposite bank. 2 rows were on the left and right. They held the rope with one hand and pulled the people in the middle row with the other hand. The 3 rows crossed the bridge together. When they reached the end of the bridge, the front row stopped and the back row connected. Then, he heard the clear voice of a girl, "Protect the left and right. Lie down in the middle. It's time to protect the seedlings." The 3 rows of people immediately moved. The left and right sides of the iron rope with their forearms crossed. The row in the middle was close together and they lay down on the iron rope. For a moment, the left and right were walls, and the middle was a road. Then, the fishermen of Old Lu village saw the children wearing bamboo hats and walking towards the river on the road paved by people. They felt that the bridge was actually more stable than the wooden planks. It was not slippery, and the wind could not penetrate it. "Third grandpa, it doesn't look like he's abducting, selling children." The young man walked to the old man's side and said with a complicated expression. The old man was speechless. His small eyes narrowed even more. It was only when the first child crossed the bridge and was settled down by the person who came from the other side of the bridge that he sighed and muttered, "Sigh." Drifting in the wind and rain, I swing back, proudly lying down on the shore, my heart sincere. Hong Nong's world has changed. Where's the change? The young man raised his head. "The people from the Zhang family and the Wang family are here. The one from Sanshui County, quick, go back to the village and ask someone to make room." "Ertzi, you go." The old man instructed another young man to go back to the village. The young man at the front didn't understand. "What?" "Third grandpa, how did you know that it's Zhang Xiaobao?" "How would I know? I only know that the people from the seedling protection team are here." "Didn't that girl shout just now? Protect the seedlings, protect the children. Do you really think that they are protecting the wheat seedlings and the rice seedlings? Come with me to welcome them." The old man called out and rushed to the bridgehead first. The young man was the second to follow. As he walked, he muttered, "It's the Zhuang Miao protection team." The people from the Miao protection team were strong and didn't care about the discomfort of the iron chains under them. They also didn't care about the pain of the children stepping on them. They just let the team of children walk on them. When Xiaobei and the other 9 people also walked across the bridge, the old man from Old Lu village happened to come to the bridgehead at the same time. The different rice seedlings patterns on the clothes of Xiaobei and the guards proved their identities. In the Tang Empire, other than the Zhang family and the Wang family of Sanshui County, no one else dared to use rice seedlings as a symbol. Otherwise, even if the Zhang family and the Wang family didn't object, the merchants and the government office wouldn't agree. The rice seedling symbol represented strength and credibility. How could it be an ordinary symbol used to confirm one's identity? The old man looked at Xiaobei and the others. A smile appeared on his wrinkled face. He spoke from his mouth that had lost a front tooth. Sure enough, other than the people from the Miao protection team, no one else would be willing to lie on the cold iron chains and let a group of children step on them. "Who said that?" "My brother and sister said that there is a country where any regular army can do that." "Not to mention iron chains, even if it's a steel knife, they have to lie on the ground. It's like the drums in war. If the drums don't stop, they can't stop. Old grandpa, you are? Xiaobei didn't agree with the old man's words. After refuting, she remembered that she didn't know the identity of the other party. The old man didn't care. Since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said there is, then there must be. I'm the Muramesa of Old Willow Village. Ah, so it's Grandpa Muramesa. I've heard so much about you. Grandpa Muramesa, I finally meet you. Let's not talk nonsense. Help the children to settle down. It's time for them to freeze. Xiaobei, who was about to be polite, was pulled by Xiaoyuan. She quickly changed her words and talked about business. Grandpa Lu, I'm Zhong Xiaohai. I have other important things to ask of you. Xiaohai was afraid that his sister would forget the important things when she was happy, so he stood up and said. The old man was shocked and quickly said, Don't say anything. If the Zhong family and the Wang family ask for something, it must be for the Tang Empire. How can we retreat? Is there something in the county? That's also my business. Just tell me and I'll do it. The emperor has one child, and I serve the Tang Empire with no disloyalty. Grandpa Lu looks like a good person. Oh, you're a good person even if you don't look. My name is Zhang Xiaobei. Grandpa Lu calls me Xiaobei. Xiaobei didn't expect to meet such a strong old man in a small village. She confirmed his identity, meaning that she didn't want the old man to call her an official. Some people should be respected. Old man Lu was speechless. Then he smiled and praised, This old man is jealous of the old bastards from the Zhang and Wang families. It's not because of their generous salary, but because of their descendants. I don't know how they taught them. They're still young, but they're much better than most people who are in their 30s. This is filial piety. When Xiaobei and the other 9 children heard Grandpa Lu mention their elders, they immediately raised their heads and leaned forward to show respect. They usually liked to fool around, but when it was time for them to show the temperament of an aristocratic family, they didn't hesitate at all. They were even better than the children of the royal family. Xiaoyuan said, In fact, we haven't done enough. True filial piety is not to be praised by others, but to be happy to laugh. The young man behind old Muramesa was confused. He didn't understand what they were saying, so he looked at third grandpa in confusion. With this comparison, old man Lu felt even more helpless. As he led everyone into the village, he whispered to his juniors, What Xiaobei means is that we don't need to talk about official positions. If we really want to talk about official positions, they have a bunch of official positions. Even the youngest one is older than me, the village chief. I'm older, so they respect me, so I praise them for being sensible. Later, the young boy said that they don't feel happy because others praise them for being filial. What makes them happy is that they can often see the smiles of their relatives. Sigh. These kids have all turned into spirits. Who's so powerful? Who taught them to be like this? The young man said with jealousy. Why don't you ask why they're so powerful? How can they be taught by others? Old Muramesa glared at the young man. The young man lowered his head in shame and didn't dare to make a sound. Old Muramesa didn't continue to compare the young man with Xiaobei and the others. He also knew that they weren't on the same level. Instead, he instructed the young man. When we get back to the village, immediately arrange for people to lay planks on the bridge. Many children come. Everyone in Tang knows that the Zhong family and the Wang family value children very much. They will definitely bring a lot of things. The planks need to be laid, and holes need to be punched and tied to the iron chains with willow twigs. The same should be done on both sides to prevent people from slipping down. Tied? That's too troublesome. The young man could imagine the difficulty of the actual operation. Is it more troublesome than building the bridge for free and using cement for our village? That's what they do. Are we freeloaders? When it comes to willow weaving, Old Willow Village in Guo Province is the best. If we don't do it, we'll wait for them to move the construction here to lay planks. In the future, when we meet outsiders, I'll lie down and you'll sit on my head. How dare I? Why would I sit on your head? Tell others that they don't need to look at my old face. They can know what the people in Old Willow Village look like by looking at your buttocks. No, I'll go. I'll go right away. Please don't be angry. Otherwise, I won't be able to sit even if I want to. My butt will be smashed by my father with willow twigs. The young man was frightened. He ran away, leaving behind a trail of mud, and disappeared from the sight of the team. Xiaobei looked at the departing figure and pondered, with a finger in his mouth. After his brother Xiao Hai patted his finger, he rubbed his arm and said, "The road is not easy to walk on. We have to arrange for people to build a cement road." 2 children in their teens happened to run out of the village. When they heard Xiaobei's words, they seemed to know how to build a cement road. They reminded him, "It's impossible to build a cement road on a rainy day." Xiaobei's eyes turned into the shape of a crescent moon. He smiled and said, "Others can't build it with cement, but our family can. Not to mention the rain, if necessary, we can build it with a knife." "How do we fix it?" The children in the village were not convinced. "First, use a charcoal fire to roast it. Then, build a shed to shelter it from the rain. Then, fill it with cement and lay a straw curtain. Pour water on it while roasting it," Xiaobei said. The 2 children obviously did not expect to be so wasteful. They were surprised and continued to ask, "It will cost a lot of money. Don't you think it's not worth it?" "Whether it's worth it or not depends on the result. I think it's worth it to build a cement road now." "Then, it must be worth it." Xiaobei clearly had the temperament of a rich second generation. "Wastrel," the 2 children said in unison. "I'm not. When I go to a restaurant to eat, I don't throw away the leftover steamed buns. When my clothes are too small, I don't throw them away. My coat can be changed into a waistcoat." Xiaobei showed his diligence and thriftiness. Therefore, the project of building a cement road on a rainy day in Old Willow Village was put on the agenda. The villagers, who became very easy to talk to because they knew the identity of the other party, warmly received Xiaobei and his team. They were relieved to let Xiaobei's team take care of the children. They organized the adults and took all kinds of tools to the county town. The people of the seedling protection team began to build sheds. There were not so many houses in the village for people to live in. They cut trees in the rain and tied the branches together. When the next day, houses built from the materials of willow trees stood in the village. Chapter 934. The original children in the village used their skillful hands to weave willow twigs and gave them to Xiaobei as gifts. Xiaobei took out small handicrafts made of silver, gold, and jade from her bag and gave them back. In her eyes, the willow grasshoppers were more precious than the jade beads because she did not make the beads herself. The children in the village had never seen jade since they were young, let alone understand its value. They only thought that the red and green were very beautiful. They rejected the gold and silver products. After all, there were signs passed down from generation to generation in the family to let them understand the value of gold and silver. Xiaobei proposed a new theory of friendship. That was, she would not sell the gifts she received. Friendship was priceless. Therefore, if the person who received her gifts did not sell them, they could only leave them there and not buy them. Therefore, they were both precious and worthless. The children in the village were confused. They thought about it and found that it was indeed so. Therefore, they happily kept the gifts and showed Xiaobei the various gadgets they had made in the past. As a result, Xiaobei and the other children were shocked. The children who could not afford cloth dolls used thin willow twigs to weave green and white dolls. The most amazing thing was that the willow twigs on the dolls' heads were not completely destroyed. When water was poured on them, they actually sprouted. Some of them looked like hair, while others looked like they were wearing a small green flower. Xiaobei, who felt that this thing was very valuable, did not care if her brothers and sisters were busy. She asked someone to send a message to buy it and whether it could be sold for a good price. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who received the message, were walking around the county. The 2 of them said that they were not busy, and they were really not busy. The specific matters were left to the people in the inner courtyard. A disaster relief and reconstruction work did not require too much energy from the 2 of them. They only needed to grasp the general direction. If it were not to give the people of Hong Nong a firm confidence, the two of them would not have come at all. If they were to say that they were busy, they were indeed busy. They had to appear in front of the people from time to show their existence. After receiving Xiao Bei's message, Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said to Wang Wan, Xiao Bei actually ordered the people of the Miao protection team to lie on the iron chain and let the children step on it. She has won the villagers' favor in an instant and wants to help Old Willow Village earn more money. Oh, you don't think she's just putting on a show? Wang Wan took the telegram and saw the idea of selling willow dolls for money. She said, "You're really your sister. You know how to find business opportunities." Zhang Xiaobao nodded in agreement. That's right. Many of the things sold in Baby's Candy House were ideas from the 9 children. Only children know what children need the most. When many adults don't care about children's seemingly childish ideas, their lives are no longer complete. Then think of a way to let them earn money. Even if it's a small amount, it will prove that their thinking is correct. Wang Wan didn't comment on Zhang Xiaobao's philosophy. She just wanted to know what Zhang Xiaobao could come up with. Zhang Xiaobao beckoned a person from the inner courtyard to come over. He gave a few instructions and continued to walk to the other passers-by. Let's go. We'll also put on a show for a lifetime. It seems like you've never planted a saw and mixed grass seed toy before. I don't have time. Wang Wan thought of what Zhang Xiaobao said. She had seen it before, but she hadn't bought it before. Zhang Bei soon got the news, so she gathered the other 8 people and planned to hold a standing committee. Later, considering that the people of Old Willow Village needed to participate directly, she added a few older children of Old Willow Village. It became an expanded standing committee meeting. At the meeting, Inspector Zhang Bei emphasized the spirit of the meeting. Then she explained that under the guidance of an emperor and the care of 2 direct family leaders, the 9 people of the inspection team followed the work principle of go where you go, get rich. It was important to give specific guidance to the willow weaving industry of Old Willow Village in Hongnon County, Guizhou. After carefully listening to the positive introduction of the willow weaving industry by the people of Old Willow Village, Inspector Zhang Bei praised the achievements of Old Willow Village's willow weaving industry and gave important instructions. She said, "We need to further carry forward the spirit of Old Willow Village in the willow weaving industry, continue to improve the corresponding support system, strictly pay attention to the relevant people's thinking, open up new ideas, carefully verify, boldly imagine, and show the spirit of not being afraid of hardship, tiredness, and hard research to improve the economic income of Old Willow Village." During the meeting, Inspector Zhang Bei emphasized the discipline of the meeting again and criticized Inspector Wang Xiaoyuan, who was also a member of the standing committee. Inspector Wang Xiaoyuan sincerely apologized and deeply realized that it was wrong to casually interrupt others and look down on the importance of guidance. Next, when Inspector Zhang Bei was about to continue to give guidance, Inspector Wang Xiaoyuan actively spoke in order to make up for the mistakes he made. In the spirit of starting from a practical point of view, he proposed specific plans. First, under the guidance of Inspector Zhang Bei's spirit of opening up the willow weaving market in Old Willow Village, he encouraged the planting of willow trees to achieve sustainable development. Second, under the guidance of Zhang Bei, he researched a new willow weaving process to reduce wastage and cost. Third, under the guidance of Zhang Bei, he established a working group to make dolls from willow and other grass seeds. He proposed that Inspector Zhang Bei be the group leader and that he would open up a market after returning to the capital. Fourth, under the guidance of Zhang Bei, he would fiercely dig into the potential consumer market of Tang's children and pay attention to publicity work. He would use the theme of growing a doll of his own to lay out advertisements. Inspector Zhang Bei expressed agreement with Inspector Wang Xiaoyuan's proposal and voted on the theme of growing a doll of his own, which was unanimously approved. After the meeting, Inspector Zhang Bei inspected the weaving factory in Old Willow Village and visited a few families in the village with advanced willow weaving technology. She kindly expressed her concern to the children who stayed at home. The Old Willow Village Standing Committee meeting was a successful meeting. It was a meeting that carried forward the past and opened the way for the future. It laid the foundation for Old Willow Village's economic development for the next few decades and was the guiding light for the development of children's toys in Tang Dynasty. In the end, the children in the village looked at Xiao Bei with admiration. They couldn't understand how such a simple thing could become so complicated when it came to Zhang Xiaobei. They all sighed. Knowledgeable people were really different. Zhang Xiaobei didn't care about Xiaobei at all. However, it didn't affect their fondness for the theme of growing a doll of his own. They also admired Xiao Yuan, but they felt that when Xiao Yuan spoke, he always added that he was under the guidance of Zhang Bei or something. It was a little redundant. Xiao Yuan explained to the children in the village with an unfathomable look, "This is called wisdom and political command. If I didn't say this, I don't know when the meeting would end. What's there to be afraid of? It's fine as long as the goal is achieved. You know Yan Zhang, the original county magistrate, right? He stole Xiaobei's limelight. What happened in the end? He was set up at the county's south gate." The children in the village said in unison. For a moment, they made an expression of fear for Xiao Yuan, and Xiao Yuan's image in their hearts became even more lofty. Wang, Xiao Yuan. Xiao Bei, who was not far away, angrily called Xiao Yuan's name. His expression was ugly. "They will think it's true. I'm going to tell my brother and sister." Ah! Xiao Yuan looked at Xiao Bei in fear and quickly explained to the children in the village, "I was just joking." Yan Zheng did something bad. He was caught because he asked your village to remove the wooden planks on the bridge. He ran in front of Xiao Bei and tricked us with words. Xiao Bei, who often tricked him, had better martial arts skills than him and was seen through on the spot. Therefore, it's very useful to practice tricking us. We know. We're not stupid. After dealing with Yan Zheng, I can go to school again. After you help me sell the doll for money, we'll repair the road from the bridge to the school ourselves, a girl in the village who was relatively older said longingly. Since even the children knew what tricking was, the adults would definitely know. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao didn't say a word of nonsense in the county. When he walked around the county to show his friendly image, he only said how many supplies would be delivered, how long the new Hongnon County would be built, how much it would cost, how many days it would take to repair it, and what kind of compensation would be given to the people who lost their lives. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were talking, the people nearby heard them and asked those who didn't understand. After the explanation of those who knew the industry, everyone understood that this time, the people who raised livestock would receive the most compensation. Not only would they be compensated for the number of livestock lost, but they would also be compensated for the cubs and fodder. As for the loss of the livestock during this period of time, it wouldn't be compensated because it wasn't easy to calculate. Specifically, the people who raised livestock would receive the most compensation. However, in terms of the actual loss and compensation, the people who would receive the most compensation were the farmers. Those who raised fish, shrimps, and crabs in paddy fields would be given a new breed of seedlings next year. The new seedlings would have a higher yield. Those who didn't raise livestock in paddy fields would receive less compensation, but like those who raised livestock, they would receive compensation for the cattle they didn't originally have. Those who originally had cattle would receive more cattle or newly bred horses. At the same time, regardless of whether they were planting rice or wheat, they would be given new seeds and farming tools. They would also be given the grain, oil, salt, and silk needed for next year's harvest. They would also be exempted from 1 year's rent, taxes, labor, and other miscellaneous items. The one-time compensation for craftsmen would be calculated based on the number of people in the household and the profession of the worker. The officials who delayed the high scholar examinations would be provided by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They would directly go to the capital to participate in this year's autumn examinations. All of their food and lodging would be provided by Savant's Restaurant and Joy House. Since they were delayed by a month, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already forked out a lot of money. They didn't mind if there were more people. Those who passed would be given the status of a high scholar. Those who didn't pass would be given the status of a high scholar. Those who didn't pass would be given the status of a high scholar. Those who didn't pass would be given the status of a high scholar. When Zhang Xiaobao was talking about this matter, a student stood up and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I was delayed and affected. I didn't have time to study. How will you compensate me for not being able to pass the examinations? Zhang Xiaobao paused and didn't say anything. Wang Wan frowned. Then what's the purpose of you passing the examinations? To be an official. To be an official in the capital and to be a local official. The student said bluntly. Oh. If you passed the examinations and became a local official, and suddenly encountered such a disaster, would you not be able to be an official because you were affected? Would you not be able to command during the disaster and rebuild after the disaster? Wang Wan asked again. The student shook his head. It's not the same. I'm a student now. I shouldn't be thinking about becoming an official after passing the examinations. Then you don't have to take the exam this year. You won't be able to get in because the exam will ask you how to be an official. Not only will it be asked in the spring and autumn exams, but it will also be asked in the high scholar exam. Wang Wan felt that this person was very interesting and laughed as she spoke. When the student saw a demon fiend cuckoo laugh, he didn't dare to make a sound. Compared to being an official, his life was more important. Chapter 935. After a few moments of thought, Zhang Xiaobao seriously said, You're right. I've truly been delayed. Then how about this? The students of Hongnon County, starting from now, help me out. I will give you all the tasks that officials should do. Be it the storehouse or the chow, the stratagem or the scribe, the punishment or the worker, the farmer or the farmer, the official or the proprietor. As long as you do your job well, I will give you an official position. If anyone can come up with a better post-disaster reconstruction plan or a locally improved method of trade, I will give you an official position based on your ability. If anyone can truly understand the situation of the Great Tang, come up with a reasonable development plan for the Great Tang, report it to the imperial court, and obtain approval, I will give you a position under the secretariat. As soon as his voice fell, it caused an uproar. The fact that he had mentioned so many officials was already shocking enough. Fortunately, given the statuses of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, it might have been possible. But now, he had even mentioned the secretariat, and that was the Prime Minister. After the uproar, the crowd fell silent once more. Putting aside whether or not the position of Prime Minister was up to Zhang Xiaobao, they first needed to see if they had the ability to be Prime Minister. The students lowered their heads in shame. The student who had just said that he had been affected blushed. He didn't even dare to think about the Prime Minister, because he didn't even know the locations of the various provinces of the Great Tang, let alone the land, population, specialty products, agriculture, industry, and taxation. Then do you know the situation of the various places in the Great Tang? A child standing at the front of the crowd asked. Zhang Xiaobao paused. Why was there a child? Why didn't he go with Xiao Bei? But he immediately put aside these thoughts and asked with a smile, What do you think? How old are you? 14. You're young. The child was very smart and clearly understood why Zhang Xiaobao had asked about his age. He then excitedly said, You must know. I heard that you're in charge of the Great Tang Bank. If you knew less, the current emperor wouldn't have held the fall imperial examination for you. That's what they all say. Zhang Xiaobao nodded in agreement. He truly did know. Not only did he know all the provinces, he also knew the written data of all the counties of the Great Tang. He even knew the specialties of certain provinces and counties or important strategic villages. Wang Wan nodded as well. She was more familiar with the terrain and the natural weather under normal circumstances. She had learned a lot about the needs of war back then, because many classic battles were inseparable from the terrain and weather. Seeing that this child was smart, Wang Wan asked casually, Who told you that? Many people, including my father, my mother, my third brother, the housekeeper, and the officials who came to visit during the festive season. Last time, during the Dragon Boat Festival, the Hall of Secretaries ordered. Ah, I'm wrong. I heard it from the common people. Perhaps the elder child was too excited, or perhaps it was because Wang Wan asked in a calm tone, as if they were chatting, but the elder child blurted out a lot of things. Halfway through, he realized and covered his mouth. He quickly covered his mouth with his hand and stamped his feet as if he was angry with himself. Seeing this action, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and understood. She must be from a family of an official in the capital, and she was a girl. No wonder she was so small and smart. Why did a little girl like her have to dress up like a boy? Wang Wan sighed and said to the elder child, "You know so much. Now there is a difficult task for you to do. Do you have the confidence to do it well?" "Yes, what is it?" The elder child puffed out his chest and raised his head. "The yamen needs a clerk. From now on, you will come with us. When we are done, we will go back to the yamen together." Wang Wan pointed to the place beside her and signaled for him to come over. The elder child really came over. He looked excited and unknowingly enjoyed the benefits of the power in his family. Zhang Xiaobao had no time to ask about the specific identity of the little girl, so he continued to talk about the compensation. Next, he talked about the people who did not have much income and received relief. They would continue to receive relief. At the same time, he would check the actual situation of their family, whether there were patients, whether there were people in the house, whether there were people in the house, the patients would be treated, and the labor force would be arranged to work. Finally, he had to deal with the businessmen. For the merchants, Zhang Xiaobao didn't actually compensate them with money or goods. Who asked the merchants to be so adaptable? The compensation he gave them was based on the tax receipts they had paid in the yamen and the various transaction registers to calculate the size of their properties. They were divided into several grades and provided with the corresponding 3 years of interest-free loans from the Tang Bank, and 2 years of business tax exemption. If the fixed shops were damaged, they would be repaired. If they were willing to continue to play the special role of the businessmen and help to circulate and prepare materials during the reconstruction process, they would be given the right to sell various specialties in the north of Hebei province. As for the businessmen who had previously paid less tax through various means, resulting in a lower grade of interest-free loans, which was inconsistent with their actual situation, Zhang Xiaobao did not care. Who let them evade tax? Fortunately, the businessmen were smarter than the students. Even if there was such an existence, they would not be stupid enough to mention it. Evading tax was punishable by jail. After the compensation plan was settled, the people in various industries who were no longer worried began to listen to orders and busy with the reconstruction. They did not know who would pay in the end, whether it would be Luoyang, Chong En, or Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families. They only hoped that the reconstruction work would be completed quickly and that a new year would come. Are we really not paying? Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao returned to the yamen. They first settled down the children they had picked up and then sat in Yan Zheng's study to discuss matters. We are not paying. Since Xiaobei said that she would pay in advance, we must use their pocket money. When we return to the capital, they will ask Li Longji for it. If Li Longji does not give it to them, then they will pay the bill themselves. Zhang Xiaobao respected the decision of his younger brothers and sisters. Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao's serious look and helplessly shook her head. Then they will probably lose all their money. I don't know when they will be able to earn back the millions of strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao also knew how much pocket money his younger brothers and sisters had. They were rewarded when they did well in their studies and gave gifts during festivals. They were also the image ambassadors of Lu Er's business group. When they made new snacks and toys at home, they felt that they could earn money. They also invested in opening a shop, wrote all kinds of children's songs, printed them into books, and sold them to families with children and those who were about to have children. They gave half of the royalties to their brothers and sisters. They even rented a space to the left of Chong An's Top Scholars restaurant and hired 2 chefs to specially make soft and sweet children's meals. They did not pay any less than they should, and they even took advantage of Top Scholars restaurant's loophole. The manager of Top Scholars restaurant would never have dreamed that a place that sold children's meals could earn so much money. He sighed in amazement at the magic of the owner. This was because the advertisement said, "Top Scholar starts with children." Just like that, Xiaobei and the others saved up less than 1.3 million strings of coins. According to the terms of the compensation, it was estimated that they would be able to empty it all in one go. When the sun set and rose, a new day had arrived. The children in Old Willow Village began to work hard under the sun after the haze passed. The plan to grow a doll that belonged to oneself had entered the production phase. Looking at the prototype of the doll being produced one by one, besides the seriousness on Xiaobei's face, there was also a hint of reluctance. Xiao Yuan and the others also buried their heads in work. Last night, they had received news from their brother and sister, allowing them to use their own pocket money to pay for it. They had also estimated the size of the expenditure and found that it was about the same as their reserves. Xiaobei carefully pressed the grass seeds into the doll, added some sawdust and rice husks, and then pressed a new layer of grass seeds. He appeared very sincere. As he pressed the seeds, he spoke to Xiao Yuan. "It's over. We've become the proletariat that brother and sister talked about. If we go back to Chang'an and ask Uncle Emperor for money and he doesn't give us, we'll have to foot the bill." Xiao Yuan was also in low spirits. Money. As a child, was it easy to earn money? At the same time, he felt sullen in his heart. What do you think this is? Not only did they trick us to come here, but they also want us to pay for it. They really know how to choose people. In the entire Great Tang, there are tens of thousands of children, but we're the only ones who can afford this. How are we going to live in the future? In fact, we haven't used that money, but why do I still feel bad? Xiaobei thought for a while and found this problem. More than 1 million strings of pocket money in the bank seemed to have no effect on the 9 of them, but they just couldn't feel happy. After Xiao Hai, who was in charge of the overall planning, sorted out the data, he came over and said, "Do it quickly. If we don't have enough money, we can ship this batch to the capital and sell it. The use of money for us is in the present. When we want to make our own decisions, we can take out the money. But this time we took out too much. We don't have money now. If we run into trouble again, we can't take it out even if we want to. After we showed our autonomy once, we lost the opportunity to show our autonomy again. That's why we feel bad. In the near future, we'd better think of ways to make more money." Xiao Hai's analysis made Xiaobei and the others understand. When they had money, they could be self-righteous. They didn't need to discuss with their elders, and they didn't need to care about other people's feelings. But this time, they were too self-righteous. They didn't know how long it would take for them to save up for the next time. Xiaobei was in low spirits as he was loading the grass seeds. He accidentally pricked his finger by a rice husk. He lowered his head and put his finger in his mouth, sulking. After a while, he looked up and said, "I found something." The other 8 people looked at him. "We are here to patrol Hongnong County. Because of Yen Zhang, Hongnong County suffered a disaster. He got a lot of money himself, but the people lost money. Then, why are we only responsible for giving money to the people and not raiding his house? Who else is colluding with him?" "Colluding with him," Xiao Yuan said. "You understand, don't you?" "Why?" Xiaobei was fuming. The other 8 people suddenly understood. They were here to patrol, not to distribute money. Even if they were asked to spend money, they would spend it. But the result was the same, but the purpose was different. Spending money was just spending money, while patrolling had its own way of saying it. That is to say, our rights and obligations are not proportional. We have to do something. Zhang Hu, who was relatively the oldest child, spoke up. Xiaobei regained his spirit and said, "Yes, we have to continue arresting people. This is our right. Even if it's our brothers and sisters, they can't take it away. Even if the people we catch can't spit out a single copper coin, it's still our right. Now I feel much better. Let's arrest people." The others were also happy. They began to divide the work and arrange for the investigation and arrest. The younger children working around them only knew that they had taken out money. They did not have a concrete idea, but the older children, who were close to 12 years old, understood. They knew that the 9 children in front of them, who were younger than them, had taken out more than 1 million strings of cash and spent it all on their hometown. 1 million strings of cash was not a concrete idea for the children in their teens, but they knew that if they had more than 100 copper coins and it was all gone one day, they would cry to death. But from the 9 children's words, they did not care about how much money was spent, but how the money was spent. After figuring out the reason, the 1 million strings of cash did not seem to be that important. The older children could not understand, but they understood that they could not be compared to the children of the Zhang family and the Wang family. When they were sad about losing some money, the others were thinking about something else. The adults of the seedling protection team also listened from the side. When they heard what their young masters were talking about, a knowing smile appeared on their faces. These were the children of the main family. No one could compare to them. They did not ask about the amount of money, but only how to use it. Xiao Bei and the others were busy arranging for people to catch the bad guys. They wanted to find a psychological balance. However, before they could take the initiative to find others, someone came to find them first. 3 people came over from the iron chain bridge that had been paved with boards. They left 3 horses on the opposite side. Obviously, they were afraid that the horses would fall off the bridge. One of the 3 people was carrying a knife. Xiao Bei and the others immediately recognized that it was a halberd, or what the Japanese called a halberd. They remembered it so clearly because their older brother had once said that in the future, many ethnic groups who might promote civilized eating with knives were still using their hands to catch food, but they did not know that they had long had knives. Therefore, they should not argue with them about food culture because they were not worthy. Therefore, Xiao Bei and the others, who were proud of their ethnic food culture, guessed the identity of the other party. There was at least one Japanese. Chapter 936. The sky was clear, the ground was muddy, and the sound of running water could be heard. The 9 people stopped their work and stared at the faces of the 3 people who came later. At this time, the 9 people were more hostile to the Japanese. After all, the Japanese had made a mess of buying and selling goods at the dock in South Hunan province. The 9 people hated that the officials of the Tang Empire could not resist the temptation and complained about the treachery of the Japanese. As for the strategy of subjugating Japan, it was not treachery, but wisdom. The Japanese with the sword on the opposite side naturally did not accidentally come here after getting lost. When he found that the 9 children were all here, his eyes lit up and then he wanted to get close. Unfortunately, this wish could not be realized for the time being. Who are you? Stop. When the Japanese man was about 50 steps away from Zhang Xiaobei, he was stopped. In the blink of an eye, he could no longer see Zhang Xiaobei and the rest of the 9 people. The place between him and Zhang Xiaobei was occupied by the seedling protection team. The Japanese was surprised for a moment, then he straightened his chest and said, "I want to go there. Speak to them. Speak human language." The person who stopped the Japanese frowned and sneered, "You want to see my master, so I have to make way for you." Only then did the Japanese realize that it was not so easy to see Zhang Bei and the others who were playing with a group of children just now. He had to look at the person who stopped him and explained, "I have something important to do. If it's delayed because of you, then it's fine if it's delayed. It doesn't matter to me whether your business is important or not. What's important is whether our business is important or not. Now do you understand which is the most important?" The person who stopped him said a tongue twister, which made the Japanese swallow his saliva. I know. Shuichiro Watanabe has something important to ask to see Lord Zhang." The Japanese finally bowed his head, because he understood that if he wanted to deceive children, he had to go through the adults first. Wait. The person who stopped him still had a cold face and asked him to stand where he was. He turned around and walked slowly to Zhang Bei. "Miss Zhang Bei, the Japanese Shuichiro Watanabe wants to see you." Zhang Bei turned to look at the other 8 people, and the 8 people gave her a look of, "You can decide." "Ah, got it. I have some matters to attend to, so I'll bring him over in an hour." Go ahead." Xiao Bei put on airs. The children who were playing with them curiously looked at the Japanese. One of the older ones asked Xiao Bei, "What's bothering you?" "I'm not done with my doll yet. Wait until I'm done with the doll in my hands. I'll see him after I change my clothes." Xiao Bei pointed at the doll she had made. "Then it's not good to let people continue to wait, right?" The child muttered softly. "Why not? Am I someone that anyone can see whenever they want to? I'm an official, a 3rd-rank official of the imperial court. If I didn't want to know why he came here, he wouldn't see me even if I exhausted him to death. Later, I'll put on my official uniform and let you see. It's a pity that you can't wear it. Otherwise, I'll give you one." At this moment, Xiao Bei knew how to show off his identity. He even introduced himself to the others by gesturing. "Well, does it look good?" the muttering child asked longingly. "Purple, embroidered with a big flower, the kind with branches and leaves. Let me tell you a secret. In fact, I can't have flowers with branches and leaves on my clothes. That's the second-rank official's clothes. But I like it, so I asked someone to embroider one." "Who asked Uncle Emperor not to give me official robes? Let me tell you, you must not tell other people. Uncle Emperor is very stingy. He never gives anything to my family. Even if he does give something once, he will take it back several times. Last time, when he treated me to a meal, I ate his four-headed abalone. The next day, he asked my brother for a pair of heavenly 9 shark fins. That big shark fin is enough for me to eat for half a month. Fortunately, my family has many ships at sea. Do you think it's easy for me?" Xiao Bei began to speak ill of Li Longji. The child nodded fiercely, expressing deep sympathy. Although she didn't know what a four-headed abalone was, she could understand. Eating for half a month was more expensive than eating for one meal. Moreover, it was very delicious. She swallowed her saliva and gave an idea. "Next time when he asks you to eat, you don't want to go. If I don't go, he will definitely ask for it. I just remembered that we are far from the sea, so we can't eat the local products of the sea. I will ask someone to bring more and invite everyone to eat together. Let me tell you first, there are no four-headed abalone. There are too many people. I will ask my brother later. If there is no other choice, I will ask him to make it smaller. But at least there should be 12 heads. I will leave more seaweed for you to eat and play with. It's kunbu. There is also seaweed. It's cheap. My family grows it in Jili province. After the fall imperial examination, go back to Jili province with my brother. I will ask someone to bring you beautiful shells." Xiao Bei suddenly remembered that the people around her might not be able to eat such good food, so she wanted to invite everyone to try it. But she was afraid of hurting people's self-esteem, so she said that the good food was local products. The child was a little embarrassed, but she couldn't resist the temptation, so she nodded. "Well, we will also invite you to eat mushrooms. It's a promise." Xiao Bei stretched out her little finger and hooked it with the other party. Compared to Xiao Bei, who had important matters to attend to, Shuichiro Watanabe felt that the days were like years. He anxiously looked at his shadow on the ground, as if it hadn't moved at all. He looked forward to the stars and the moon. Finally, an hour had passed. Just as he was about to speak, the person who had stopped him spoke first. "Stand still and don't move. Search him." Shuichiro Watanabe really didn't dare to move. He let the others take away his katana and touch him from top to bottom. Finally, he opened his mouth and let them look at his teeth. It was as if they were picking animals. Reporting to Xiao Bei, the Japanese, Shuichiro Watanabe, requests an audience. After searching Shuichiro Watanabe's body, the people of the Miao protection team shouted towards Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei had already changed her clothes at this moment. She found a mat made of willow branches and leaned on it. She said indifferently, "Pass." The child next to her suddenly realized that the current Xiao Bei was different from before. Just now, she was laughing and joking like the sister or sister next door. Why did Xiao Bei look so strange now? The expression on her face was different, her voice was different, and even the posture of leaning on the mat had changed. It was as if the sticky rice cake had turned into a cold stone, making people not dare to get close to her. The other 8 people's expressions looked the same. Shuichiro Watanabe felt the pressure and carefully moved forward. When he was 10 steps away, someone next to him stopped him again. "Answer here. Lower your head. Don't look around." The mat Xiao Bei was sitting on was higher. She had a sense of condescension. Her eyelids drooped, and her voice squeezed out from her throat. Who's down there? Shuichiro Watanabe wanted to curse. You little brat, didn't you hear me just now? Why are you still asking? Although he thought about it, he didn't dare to say it. He couldn't even change his expression. He lowered his head and said respectfully, I'm Shuichiro Watanabe from Japan. I have something important to discuss with you. Xiao Bei dragged out the sound with her nose. Her eyes were puzzled. She looked at the person next to her. Japan. Replying to Miss Xiao Bei, Japan is a country. Originally, people lived on islands. From Jili Prefecture, Hunan Province, or Shannon-dongdo, you can reach there after a month. Different ships have different distances, and the time taken is slightly different. Someone next to her introduced. Shuichiro Watanabe listened below, and his lungs almost exploded. He didn't believe that Xiao Bei didn't even know Japan. She was clearly mocking him. Xiao Bei's eyelids continued to droop. Oh, a remote island country? Do you have any education? Are you knowledgeable and well-mannered? Yes, I think so. The person who introduced her just now said vaguely. Shuichiro Watanabe understood. Xiao Bei was finding fault with him, saying that he didn't show proper etiquette. He also knew that he should change his address and etiquette. After all, Japan was now a vassal country of the Tang Empire in name. When he met a Tang official, he should show proper etiquette. But Watanabe Juichiro felt awkward. It was really embarrassing for an adult like him to lower his voice in front of a child. It was not like he was facing Zhang Xiaobao. Even if he was not that old, he was an existence that was above the top-ranking list of billionaires. What did Zhang Xiaobao have to do? Wasn't it because she had a good brother and sister? After a few breaths, considering that he had something important to do, Shuichiro Watanabe finally knelt down helplessly and said, Foreigner Shuichiro Watanabe greets the inspector. Shuichiro Watanabe? This name is not good. Fine, I'm magnanimous and don't want to pursue it. Raise your head. Xiao Bei did not have any idea of showing the demeanor of a big country. It was not easy to find a Japanese person who could be bullied by her. With the purpose of satisfying her cravings, she used her identity to suppress people. Shuichiro Watanabe regretted it in his heart. If he had known earlier, he would not have rushed to come here. Originally, he had planned to trick her and immediately go back to show off. Now, he had lost face first. Of course, if the other party was an adult, or a third-grade official of the Tang Empire, it would not be a loss of face. It was normal for status to be unequal. The problem was that the other party was a little kid. It was really frustrating. Shuichiro Watanabe, who was competing with himself, slowly raised his head. He did not dare to raise it too quickly, for fear of being misunderstood as wanting to harm Xiao Bei. When he raised his head and saw Xiao Bei, Shuichiro Watanabe took a deep breath. Shuichiro Watanabe, who had never seen Xiao Bei's 9 people, had already imagined what they looked like before. When he was far away, he had a little impression of them. At that time, he felt very normal, like the children next door, playing with other children there. However, at this moment, the other party had changed clothes. When he looked at them closely, they became different. The first was an aura of wealth and wealth. He saw the 9 children wearing purple robes with tassels hanging on the sides, gold on the boots, jade on the waists, 6 gold coins on the left, tortoiseshell on the inside, 7 jade carvings on the right, and precious pearls in the middle. The robes were dark, and there was no horizontal or vertical division. There were clusters of flowers on the robes, and the branches were crystal clear. The men were crowned with a crown, and the women were like phoenixes and birds. The jade bracelets on their wrists were as red as blood, and the neck was filled with the fragrance of agarwood. If Shuichiro Watanabe had come from the same place as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he would have shouted, F***CK, so F***King Rich. Fortunately, Shuichiro Watanabe was kneeling on the ground. Otherwise, he would have been smashed to the ground by the power of money on Xiao Bei's 9 people. When he took a closer look, Shuichiro Watanabe was stunned by Xiao Bei's appearance. There was a reason why people liked Xiao Bei. Shuichiro Watanabe deeply felt a kind of indescribable and endless cuteness. Xiao Bei did not use any cosmetics, even though her family's cosmetic store was popular in the Tang Empire. It was not that cosmetics were harmful to the human body. Her cosmetics were all pure natural products. It was just that she did not use cosmetics. In Shuichiro Watanabe's eyes, Xiao Bei's cheeks were as soft as water, her lips were red, her teeth were white, her nose was straight, her forehead was slightly raised, and her eyes were bright and beautiful. She was so pure. If he did not know that he would be killed on the spot if he made any other unnecessary movements, Shuichiro Watanabe really wanted to rush up, hug Xiao Bei, and kiss her. She was really too cute. If he had a daughter like her, he would definitely hide it well. God, you are so unfair. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan are already so powerful. Why did you give them such a sister? Shuichiro Watanabe cursed in his heart. He finally understood why people said that Xiao Bei's 9 children could be doted on by the Tang Emperor. It was said that any official who was caught by the 9 children would be demoted 3 ranks, regardless of whether they were really guilty or not. If they angered them, even if they were innocent, they would be demoted 3 ranks. Regardless of whether it was the Tang Emperor or himself, he would make such a decision. How could such cute children be wrong? Why didn't they find trouble with others? Why did they have to find trouble with you? When Shuichiro Watanabe thought about it, he also realized that the 9 children's clothes were not in line with the Tang Empire's official regulations. If it was someone else, they could be used as blackmail. If you don't agree to anything, I will find a way to report you, especially Xiao Bei. If you dare to wear a phoenix coronet, the lightest punishment is to lose your head. But Shuichiro Watanabe knew very well that reporting Xiao Bei's 9 children was useless. If he really tried to find a way to report it, once he reported it, the first one to be arrested would be him. For a moment, Shuichiro Watanabe's heart was filled with mixed feelings. His eyes swept over Xiao Bei's 9 children. His mouth was slightly open, and he did not know what to say. Compared to Shuichiro Watanabe's many thoughts, Willow Village and the children who were brought here did not have so many thoughts. They only felt that Xiao Bei's 9 children had changed and become more beautiful, especially the girls. Their clothes were really beautiful. Unfortunately, Xiao Bei said that they could not wear them. Chapter 937. Watanabe Juchiro, your name is too long and doesn't sound nice. I'll give you a name, Bien E. It sounds nice and nice. While Watanabe Juchiro was looking at Xiao Bei spoke. She changed his name as soon as she opened her mouth. Her tone didn't allow anyone to refute. Before Watanabe Juchiro could agree, Xiao Bei spoke again. Bien E, why do you want to see me? Watanabe Juchiro felt wronged. He wanted to argue that his name couldn't be changed, but he was afraid that the little girl in front of him would order someone to cut off his head in anger. It was not strange for a child to do anything. Watanabe Juchiro endured it. After all, the other party had power and influence. He thought about what he had planned before he came and said, Lord Zhang, this foreigner has a few questions. Can you tell me? Xiao Bei heard Watanabe Juchiro's words and waited for a while before speaking. Her words almost made Watanabe Juchiro vomit blood. Xiao Bei asked kindly, Bien E, do you want to grow a doll that belongs to you? I have materials here that can be sold to you at a low price. You can take them back and sell them in Japan. I'll guarantee your wealth. You want to buy my things? Watanabe Juchiro saw that Xiao Bei didn't follow his words. He hesitated and asked, What doll? How much is it? Grow a doll that belongs to you. Others farm, we grow dolls. That's it. Someone, bring me the dolls made by the villagers of Willow Village. Xiao Bei was still sitting in a dignified manner. She waved her hand and winked at the people beside her. The people in the inner courtyard understood what to do. They walked over to one of the children in Willow Village and explained in a very gentle voice, Xiao Bei is now an official. She's putting on an act for Watanabe Juchiro. She said that your villagers, but in fact, she's protecting you. She doesn't want Watanabe Juichiro to use you as a hostage. Xiaobei will help you sell your dolls at a sky-high price." The child who was asked for a doll by the person from the inner courtyard nodded vigorously and handed over the doll in her hand. Only after the person from the inner courtyard left did she reveal a smile. Just now, when she heard Xiaobei say, "lowly commoner," she felt that the entire world had turned cold. Just now, she had even made a pinky promise with him. Why did it suddenly become so distant? So it was just an act for the Japanese. Xiaobei had not changed. It was still Xiaobei. "I told you. Xiaobei is pretending," the girl whispered to the child next to her, so the words of the inner courtyard quickly spread among the children, but Shuichiro Watanabe couldn't hear it. Watanabe Juichiro only saw Zhang Xiaobei smiling sweetly at the surrounding people, which made him feel that Zhang Xiaobei was even cuter. The two shallow dimples set off Zhang Xiaobei's mischievous and innocent look. One of the older children sighed and said, "It's not easy to be an official, especially a good official like Xiaobei. No wonder Grandpa Muramesa's attitude towards Xiaobei is different." Yes, I saw it too. Grandpa Muramesa is a high scholar. He doesn't like other officials. When Xiaobei came, Grandpa Muramesa changed. He was even willing to go to the county to help. Sister Lu Ye, when Xiaobei came, didn't her subordinates feel uncomfortable lying on the iron chain? A boy who was slightly younger than the girl who spoke earlier, about 11 years old, asked. He actually liked Xiaobei very much and wanted to play with her. It would be even better if they could play together every day. If he could marry Xiaobei when he grew up, he would be willing to do anything. Unfortunately, he also knew that it was impossible. It was said that Xiaobei's future husband was Wang Xiaoyuan, a boy who could read 10 lines at a glance and remember everything he saw. Most importantly, he was Wang Wan's younger brother. Whoever dared to steal his wife was really tired of living. The girl who spoke earlier did not know what the boy next to her was thinking. She said, "It should be uncomfortable, but they are the Miao protection team. They are the personal guards of the Zhang family and Wang family in Sanshui County. I heard that they are the most powerful team in Tang Empire. They are Sister Cuckoo's last trump card." What is that saying again? Oh, yes, once the order is given, their hearts will be like iron. When soldiers are deployed, blood will be spilled. A few children nearby shouted in unison. This was the most popular saying among the people. Not only did the children who went to school know, even the adults could say a few words. The whole saying was, "The sea is boundless, the tide rises and falls. Cuckoo's gunboats break through the waves, forming a majestic formation. The grassland is tender in spring and snow in winter, the arrows are like shuttles, the goshawks soar, the balloons are many, covering the sky and competing with the clouds. The desert is gray, the years are hard to judge. Looking back at home, the moon in the sky, the enemies are endless, the banners are endless, and the demons are smiling. Who is in the Ming Dynasty and who is in the yesterday? The green hills sound the military song. Once the order is given, their hearts will be like iron. When soldiers are deployed, blood will be spilled." Yes. The boy nodded and replied, "Someone is going to die. I heard from Sister Xiaobei that this time, 2 reinforced subway cavalry battalions were dispatched. Sister Cuckoo sent the soldiers here. It's definitely not a joke. Someone is going to die." Shuichiro Watanabe also heard the children shouting, "When soldiers are deployed, blood will be spilled." He couldn't help but tremble. He looked at the doll that Xiaobei asked someone to bring in front of him and asked carefully, "Lord Zhang, what is this thing like?" "Water." Xiaobei said these 2 words with certainty, meaning that she was not lying. "Then how much is it?" Shuichiro Watanabe could see that Xiaobei wanted to earn some pocket money. 1,000 strings of cash. Xiaobei stretched out a finger. "How much?" Shuichiro Watanabe shouted and quickly covered his mouth. He was afraid that he would scare Xiaobei, so he lowered his voice. "This thing is worth 1,000 strings of cash?" Xiaobei stared at her big eyes. Wei Wei nodded. Is it not worth it? My hand was cut when I made it. While speaking, Xiaobei showed the finger to Shuichiro Watanabe. Her small mouth twitched and her eyes were misty. It really did hurt. Shuichiro Watanabe saw Xiaobei's expression and felt a pain in his heart. He looked at the doll again and felt that 1,000 strings of cash was really not expensive. This was made by Xiaobei herself, and her hand was cut. Then how much do you think it's worth? Xiaobei didn't know what Shuichiro Watanabe was thinking and asked. At least 3,000 strings of cash. Shuichiro Watanabe stretched out 3 fingers. In an instant, he felt absent-minded. It was as if his daughter had made a doll for him and cut her hand. He had an idea in his heart. Not to mention 1,000 strings of cash, if he could reach the stars, he could pick the stars and give them to his daughter. Xiaobei didn't know how charming her appearance and expression were. When she heard Shuichiro Watanabe say 3,000 strings of cash, she smiled. I'll sell it to you. Now I have the money for the cement for the road in the village. I originally planned to return to the capital and sell it to Uncle Emperor. Once I get the money, we'll be even. Shuichiro Watanabe stretched out his hand and took out the money. He admitted defeat. Who asked him to say 3,000 strings of cash? He could imagine the consequences if he didn't buy the doll after saying the price. He counted 6 pieces of Tang banknotes with the words, worth 500 strings of cash, written on them and handed them to the people next to him. He held the doll tightly in his hand, thinking that he had to plant it properly when he went back. If he didn't turn the world upside down, it would be a waste of the money. The children were shocked. 3,000 strings of cash, they wouldn't be able to earn one in a lifetime. Xiaobei was indeed Xiaobei. Xiaobei took the money and carefully verified it. It was real. Then she handed it to her brother Xiao Hai and asked him to keep it. She turned her head and asked Shuichiro Watanabe, "Foreigner Shuichiro Watanabe, what did you want to say to this official just now?" Shuichiro Watanabe didn't expect that Xiaobei would become this official in the blink of an eye. The speed at which she changed her attitude was extraordinarily fast. Shuichiro Watanabe touched the money in his pocket for the activities. He suppressed the other thoughts in his heart and began to deceive the children according to his plan. Lord Zhang. Shuichiro Watanabe took a deep breath and said, Xiaobei's eyelids drooped again. There is one thing that this foreigner doesn't understand. Please tell me. I heard that the regional commander Lord Zhang has always been advocating economic matters. Political matters are political matters, and military matters are military matters. However, this time, he has brought the army here. Isn't it already under the control of military and political matters? Shuichiro Watanabe knew that Xiaobei could understand. He wanted to see how Xiaobei would answer so that he could continue to trick her. Xiaobei did understand what he meant, but she didn't understand the thoughts of her brother and sister. She couldn't say it casually and leave a topic for others to talk about. She was now representing the reputation of the Tang Empire. A few children who also heard it clearly became anxious, afraid that Xiaobei wouldn't say it. Only the 8 of them were not worried. They believed that Xiaobei could handle it. Sure enough, Xiaobei rolled her eyes and pretended to cough. She said, "We have always emphasized that we should do our own things and work tirelessly for it. As everyone knows, our dynasty has achieved gratifying results in economic, political, and military matters. Regarding this, our dynasty is willing to persist and consolidate." When Shuichiro Watanabe heard Xiaobei's words, he felt very awkward. It was different from the answer he wanted to get. After thinking for a while, he asked, "But now you are not doing your own things. Why is that?" "I have already answered this question. I will repeat it again. Our dynasty has never changed its original intention of development and progress. We have never changed our coordination work in all aspects. I believe that we will do better in the future." Xiaobei had a sincere expression. Okay. Shuichiro Watanabe gave up on this question and changed to another one, intending to sow discord. Lord Zhang, as far as outsiders know, Xinluo, which is adjacent to the Tang Empire, is now unable to escape the control of the Tang Empire. The control I am talking about is not the control of the Tang Empire, but the people's livelihood. The Tang Empire has taken over Xinluo's land and planted by DZ. Xinluo has no food. As long as the Tang Empire stops eating, Xinluo will be full of hungry people. Does this go against the original intention of your cooperation with Xinluo, or was the Tang Empire's original plan? After Shuichiro Watanabe finished asking, his eyes were fixed on Xiaobei. He didn't believe that a little brat could not make a mistake. Xiaobei's eyes moved left and right. She was trying hard to recall the words of her brother and sister when they were arguing. Her brother liked to pretend to be righteous when he was cheating others, and her sister always laughed. The passage of time seemed to have suddenly slowed down. Xiaobei thought for more than 10 breaths, but it gave people the feeling that more than an hour had passed. Finally, Xiaobei's gaze landed on Shuichiro Watanabe again. Her small hands retracted into her sleeves and clenched into fists. She encouraged herself in her heart. The smart Xiaobei can do better. Xiaobei is a third-rank official. I can go to Hanyuan Palace to participate in the court session. I can't embarrass the Tang Empire. After hinting to herself, Xiaobei's eyes were filled with confidence. She coughed again and said to Shuichiro Watanabe, "The Tang Empire and Xinluo have a close relationship. They are harmonious neighbors. The people of the Tang Empire are great people, and the people of Xinluo are great people. The two great countries with great people have always lived in harmony. In recent years, the Tang Empire and Xinluo have carried out more cooperation projects and achieved gratifying results. The two countries help and promote each other. They have worked together many times in the fields of economy, military, politics, and so on. The friendship between the people of the two countries has also strengthened through cooperation. We have to believe that with the concerted efforts of the people of the two countries and the royal family, the future will be better. A new chapter is being written." As soon as Xiaobei said this, everyone was shocked. The 8 people of Xiaoyuan had an expression of, "I knew Xiaobei could do it." The inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family puffed up their chests even more. The other children's eyes were filled with stars. Shuichiro Watanabe was stunned. In the past, people said that the children of the Zhang family and Wang family were powerful, but he didn't believe it. At this moment, he was completely convinced. Who taught such a monster? Compared to this little girl in front of him, the other children should jump into the river. Shuichiro, are there any other questions? Xiaobei, who had won, asked happily. Shuichiro Watanabe shook his head helplessly, indicating that there were no more questions. If Xiaobei's answer was not good, he would continue to ask. But now he saw that it was useless to ask. Xiaobei had mastered the legendary essence of diplomatic speech. There were probably not many people in the Tang Empire who could compare to her. After all, everyone was not used to speaking like this. For a moment, Shuichiro Watanabe looked at Xiaobei in a daze. Why was this girl so likable? She was really cute, smart, and witty. In a daze, Shuichiro Watanabe was about to get up and hug Xiaobei and kiss her. Just as he moved, he heard a shout, "Don't move. If you move again, you'll die." Shuichiro Watanabe suddenly woke up and looked around. The people of the protection team were all vigilant. Only the 2 people standing next to Xiaobei gave him a relaxed feeling. However, it was these 2 people who gave Watanabe Juichiro the most pressure. He was 10 steps away from Zhang Xiaobei. He was confident that when he did something unfavorable to Zhang Xiaobei, the people behind him and on his left and right could not stop him. 10 steps was too close for him, so close that it would not even take a breath of time. But for some reason, the 2 people standing next to Xiaobei gave him a feeling that if he dared to move, he would die immediately. Suppressing the impulse, Shuichiro Watanabe narrowed his eyes and looked at the 2 people next to Xiaobei. Finally, he found something different. The 2 people wore thick leather gloves on their left hands. Others had long guns and 2 short guns, but these 2 people only had 1 short gun. Others put their short guns on their waists, but these 2 people put their guns in the holsters on their legs. The other people's guns gave people a feeling of smoothness, but these two people's guns had half a circle on both sides. What does it mean? Shuichiro Watanabe thought to himself. Xiaobei, who was sitting on top, did not care about Shuichiro Watanabe's actions at all. She seemed very indifferent. She knew that Shuichiro Watanabe could not hurt her at all. The distance of 10 steps, and the two people next to her, was like the distance between heaven and earth. It was a gap that life could not cross. Seeing Shuichiro Watanabe in a daze, Wei Wei smiled and said, "Let the outsider see." Xiao Yuan took out a coin with the word Wu on it, representing 5 coins. She flicked her finger. Ding! The coin flipped and flew up into the sky with a long sound. Shuichiro Watanabe understood that the other party was going to use a gun to hit the coin. He immediately looked at the coin in the sky from the corner of his eyes while staring at the gun on the leg of the person who took a step to the left of Xiaobei. When the coin reflected the sunlight and fell, only a bang sound was heard. The coin disappeared from Shuichiro Watanabe's eyes. His eyes widened and stared at the gun on the leg of the person, unable to hide his shock. After a while, Shuichiro Watanabe reacted and asked loudly in disbelief, "How did you fire the gun?" If the coin in the sky had not disappeared, and if it had not been for the wisp of smoke floating up from the leg of the person, he would have thought that the other party had not moved at all. "You don't have to worry about that." Xiaobei smiled beautifully. Xiao Yuan's 8 children also looked mysterious. Only they knew the abilities of these two people. They were the last step that their brother and sister had sent to protect them. The two of them were using handmade revolvers. Only after forging thousands of revolvers could one be chosen, and the two of them were 1 in a million. Their brother and sister said that the reaction time of the two people was estimated to be 0.1 second. This was the time to react when something happened. Then, they would fire the gun and use their hands to push the firing pin. This speed was a little faster than their brother and sister's own speed, so it was estimated to be 0.3 second. Because their sister said that their brother's speed was 0.4 second, and hers was 0.5 second. In other words, the fastest speed was from the time the two people discovered danger and chose to fire the gun without pressure. The total time to fire the gun and retract the gun was 0.13 second. The so-called no pressure meant that they did not have to consider whether the person they were shooting was really going to harm the person they were protecting, nor did they have to consider the identity of the person they were shooting. In the middle of this, the second judgment time was omitted, and this time was very precious. It was usually 0.3 to 0.4 second. So there was no need to be afraid of Shuichiro Watanabe's sudden attack. The distance of 10 steps was more than 10 meters. Even if they kneeled on the ground and started to squat at the fastest speed, and ran another 10 meters, it would be completed in 1 second. Such a long time was enough for the two people to make a second judgment. How could Shuichiro Watanabe know so much scientific basis? He only knew that he could not see clearly how the other person fired the gun. There seemed to be a flash of light, but it did not seem to be. How could it be? After showing off, Xiaobei happily said to Shuichiro Watanabe, "If there's nothing else, you can leave." "Leave? I can't leave. If I leave, wouldn't I have come here for nothing?" Shuichiro Watanabe thought and obediently knelt. He really did not want to see smoke rise around the person and die. After kneeling again, Shuichiro Watanabe found that his knee did not seem to hurt as much. It was very magical. "Lord Zhang, this foreigner has one more thing to say." Shuichiro Watanabe somewhat understood the grievance of the Tubo people when they were killed by Wang Wan. "Quickly say it." Xiaobei, who had relaxed, took out a big hazelnut that was fried with sugar and put it in her mouth with a gotcha sound. After spitting out the shell, she ate it happily. Watanabe Juchiro saw that Zhang Xiaobei was enjoying the food and swallowed his saliva. He knew that the food that Zhang Xiaobei and the other children ate was not ordinary, especially snacks. It was very likely that even the emperor of the Tang Empire could not eat what they ate. Shuichiro Watanabe gently shook his head and threw away this irrelevant thought. He decided to do something practical. "Lord Zhang, in fact, it is nothing more than money. As long as you can let go of the cargo ships in the coastal Japan, I will give you this amount. Shuichiro Watanabe raised a finger. It was the index finger, not the middle finger. Otherwise, Xiaobei would take out her small pistol and shoot him personally. It was not powerful, but a few shots could kill him. When Xiaobei saw Shuichiro Watanabe's finger, she could no longer calm down. Her breathing became rapid and her face was slightly red. She rubbed her hands together and said shyly, "Really? If you give me 100 million strings of cash, I will find a way to help you persuade my brother and sister not to trouble you Japanese. But our officials still need to be dealt with. Xiao Yuan, what do you say?" Xiao Yuan could not continue to remain calm. She did not want to change her original intention because of money, but she was reluctant to part with the money. It was very difficult. In the end, she gritted her teeth and said, "Once you get 100 million strings of cash, I will help you talk to them. I guarantee that there will be no problem. Your Japanese lives and goods will not be taken away." Shuichiro Watanabe was already confused when Xiaobei said 100 million strings of cash. When he heard Xiao Yuan's words, he wanted to tell the other party that if you give me 100 million strings of cash, I will give up both the goods and my life. It's not 100 million strings of cash. Then how much? 10 million strings of cash? Okay, 10 million strings of cash it is. I can promise not to capture your people and goods. At least, if I don't do anything, your people will be safe. Xiaobei was a little disappointed. After some calculations, 10 million strings of cash was 10 billion pennies. This amount was still acceptable, so she reluctantly accepted it. It's not 10 million strings of cash either. Shuichiro Watanabe's voice was very low. Say it. How much? Xiaobei was impatient. 10% of the shares. 10%? How much did you make last year? Xiaobei asked. 3 million strings of cash. There's copper, sulfur, silver, and a large number of very precious marine products. In fact, we basically sell all of Japan's goods. Shuichiro Watanabe reported the amount of money. Xiaobei's expression turned uglier as she listened to Shuichiro Watanabe's words. Although she looked very cute no matter what expression she had, her anger was still clear. By the time Shuichiro Watanabe finished speaking, Xiaobei's face had already turned as cold as ice. Her beautiful face became more dignified, and her large eyes didn't blink. Her long eyelashes curled up as she stared at Shuichiro Watanabe. It wasn't until Shuichiro Watanabe felt guilty that Xiaobei slapped the armrest of the chair and angrily asked, "That is to say, in terms of gross profit, the most you'll give us is only 300,000 strings of cash, right? 300,000 strings of cash is quite a lot. How much does my Japan's annual revenue amount? And this is because the Tang Empire is rich. In the past, my Japan wouldn't even receive 3 million strings of cash in a year." Shuichiro Watanabe defended himself. Xiaobei forcefully pursed her lips. "You're insulting us. You're insulting us. Do you know how much pocket money we took out for Hongnon County this time? More than 3 million strings of cash. Fixing roads, fixing riverbanks, compensating people for their losses, building shops, and everything else doesn't cost money. You're using 300,000 strings of cash to send beggars away. We trusted you so much. We said we'd help you keep the inventory and people. You used this little bit of money to insult us and hurt our young hearts." Shuichiro Watanabe listened to Xiaobei's words and thought about the meaning behind them. Once again, he regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have come no matter what. Just like what others said, the Zhang family and the Wang family couldn't be bribed. Shuichiro Watanabe was already full of admiration for Li Longji. The grand sage understood. No wonder he made the 9 children into high-ranking officials and patrolled the Tang Empire. It wasn't just because the 9 children were monstrously smart. More importantly, he wasn't afraid of others using threats and bribes to deal with the 9 children. Looking at the equipment of the seedling protection team and the special shooting speed of the 2 people, anyone who dared to threaten them would be courting death. Then listen to Xiaobei's words. Just his pocket money alone could take out 1.3 million strings of cash. 300,000 strings of cash was an insult to him. Who wouldn't be afraid of the places they patrolled? The amount of money the officials took was not even enough to bribe the 9 children. Chapter 938. Japanese, Watanabe Juichiro, tried to bribe this official. Men, arrest him. While Watanabe Juichiro was thinking about this, Xiaobei, who felt greatly insulted, gave the order to arrest him. Xiaobei was furious. He had thought that it was 100 million strings of cash, but his family couldn't take out 100 million strings of cash. There were only 3 ways to raise it. One was to sell all his family properties, which would give him more than 300 million strings of cash. But that was impossible. What about the military? What about the laboratory? What about the industrial chains in various places? What about his family's house and jewels? The second method was for his brother to use his identity to raise money from all the merchants of the Great Tang. He believed that with his brother's call, let alone 100 million strings of cash, he would be able to raise 1 billion strings of cash. The Great Tang was no longer the same as before, and its productivity was more developed. The third method was for his brother to use the Great Tang Bank. There was a lot of money there, but was that possible? His brother wouldn't touch the Great Tang Bank's money. The Great Tang Bank's loans and investments were all for Uncle Emperor to earn. Other than these 3 methods, even the Great Tang's treasury couldn't take out 100 million strings of cash. Although his family's policies and productivity reforms had made the treasury's income exceed 100 million strings of cash, the treasury's money had to be spent. His brother and sister had even discussed this matter. In any case, he didn't really understand. He only knew that his brother wanted to spend a lot of money on infrastructure, but his sister didn't agree. She said that they couldn't adopt a deficit economic strategy because their productivity wasn't advanced enough and they didn't plunder enough money. In any case, 100 million strings of cash was a lot. This Watanabe Juichiro had made him happy for nothing. Even 10 million strings of cash would have been fine. He actually dared to lie and say that 10% of the shares would only earn him 300,000 strings of cash a year. He was clearly scolding him, bullying him because he hadn't seen 300,000 strings of cash before. It was too infuriating. It wasn't right to play with children. It was a crime to bully children. Of course, Xiaobei would never admit that the biggest reason for his anger was that his attitude when he thought it was 100 million strings of cash had been a little embarrassing. In the end, not only did he lose his face, he also lost his money. Watanabe Juichiro didn't know that the high and mighty child in front of him had such thoughts. Seeing Xiaobei turn hostile and arrest him, he immediately panicked. If he was arrested again, what would happen to the goods at the port? That was the hope of the country this year. You can't arrest me. You can't arrest me. I didn't say 100 million strings of cash. It's what you think. Why don't you think about it? Where can I get 100 million strings of cash from in Japan? I can't even take out 10 million strings of cash. Shuichiro Watanabe didn't dare to resist and could only shout. How dare you ask us to bribe you without 10 million strings of cash? What do you take us for? Push him down and behead him. Stay away from him. Don't let me see any blood. Xiaobei became even angrier when he heard Shuichiro Watanabe mention the previous incident again. Watanabe Juichiro was escorted to the riverside. He didn't want to die in such a cowardly way, so he had to use his last trick. Ha ha ha. He threw his head back and laughed 3 times. When Xiaobei heard the laughter, he felt that the scene was a little familiar. He turned his head and asked Xiaoyuan, I feel that it's a little familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere before. In the stories, the spring and autumn period, the Warring States period, and the 3 Kingdoms period that Big Sister told us about all had such situations. When the envoys were beheaded, they would laugh loudly and survive. Some of them even achieved their goals. As for those who didn't survive, Big Sister said that the stories didn't include them. Xiaoyuan originally wanted to tell all the stories, but when she saw that Shuichiro Watanabe was about to be killed, she was afraid that there wasn't enough time, so she could only make it short. Xiaobei blinked and thought of a plot. Thus, he hurriedly shouted at Shuichiro Watanabe, who was being escorted dozens of steps away, "Why are you laughing?" After shouting, he compared the plot of the stories and felt that there was a discrepancy. He ordered, "Men, bring Shuichiro Watanabe back. I have something to ask him." Just like that, Shuichiro Watanabe returned. "Shuichiro, I ask you, why are you laughing?" Xiaobei blinked and stared at Shuichiro Watanabe. There was a hint of expectation in his expression. Shuichiro Watanabe originally thought that he was going to die, but he didn't expect to be brought back. He felt that his plan had succeeded. He didn't know that if his answer was different from what Xiaobei heard in the story, Xiaobei would be very disappointed and might even kill him. Yes, children's thoughts were often so strange. You couldn't reason with them. This was also why the officials of the Tang Empire were so afraid of Xiaobei. Although Shuichiro Watanabe couldn't guess why Xiaobei put him in the story, he also knew that this was his last chance. He hoped that Xiaobei could be as smart as when he said the legendary diplomatic words before and be able to understand his words. In order to live, Shuichiro Watanabe summoned his courage and looked up fearlessly at Xiaobei. What he saw was Xiaobei's expectant gaze. He didn't know that Xiaobei expected him to follow the plot of the story. If he knew, he might rather hold his breath and suffocate himself to death. After all, it was very sad to associate life and death with the story. He only knew that Xiaobei in front of him was not a child who could be easily deceived as he imagined. He had to treat her seriously. Shuichiro Watanabe quickly organized his thoughts and said, "I laughed at the Tang Empire's officials for being narrow-minded. When two countries are at war, it's normal not to kill the envoys. Why not kill the envoys when money is a small matter?" Xiaobei first nodded in agreement with Shuichiro Watanabe's words and then asked Xiaoyuan in a low voice, That's right. Is it the same as the story?" She understood what Shuichiro Watanabe was trying to say. When two countries are at war, it's normal not to kill the envoys. Would there be a conflict and kill for a little money? Xiaoyuan nodded and said, "It's about the same. Let's listen to him." So Xiaobei asked again, "What about Erxiao? You laughed 3 times." Shuichiro Watanabe Weiwei breathed a sigh of relief. With Xiaobei's words, it meant that he could live for the time being. She lowered her head and thought for a moment, then said, Erxiao has forgotten the rights of Zhou. We don't teach right or wrong, we only use force. Taking life is nothing more than a nod of the head. How can we seize the will with weapons? Very good, not bad. Xiaobei continued to agree. What Shuichiro Watanabe meant was that she had forgotten the rights of Zhou. It was easy to kill someone, it was just a nod of the head. However, the commander of 3 armies could be seized, but an ordinary man could not seize the will. She could kill him, but could she kill all the Japanese warriors? Xiaoyuan also nodded and said, "Yes, Shuichiro Watanabe, it's really hard for you to know so many things. My army, my Tang Empire's army, does this. Everyone has to be literate. If the general dies, the battalion commander will take over. If the battalion commander dies, the captain will take over. If the captain dies, any soldier will do. It will not affect the intention of the battle. Therefore, it's not scary to seize the commander, but it's scary to lose the morale. My army, my Tang Empire's army, as long as the commander's flag doesn't fall, we will fight to the death and never retreat." Yes, Bien Yi, you are really good. Now you are talking about Sanshao? Xiaobei also admitted that Shuichiro Watanabe was right. It was in line with the plot of the story. Shuichiro Watanabe was stunned for a moment. He really did not know that the private armies of the Zhang family and Wang family had reached the point where everyone was literate. What a terrible thing this was. As Wang Xiaoyuan said, if one died, the other would take over. The intention of the battle could be understood. When encountering such an army, unless everyone was killed, there was no way to stop the opponent's tactical arrangement. Then he thought about how he could not manage the army and how to survive the things he faced. Only then did he calm down and said, San Shao is powerless to manage the general trend. If you don't blame the officials, you blame the distant border. There are thousands of things in the world, but it's difficult for a fly to land on a seamless egg. Oh. Xiaobei nodded again. He said that he could not control the officials of the Tang Empire, but he blamed the distant Japan. If the officials of the Tang Empire could do well, then the Japanese could not do anything. Okay, I won't kill you. It's similar to what you see in the story. Bien Yi, let me ask you something. Have you also heard of the 3 kingdoms that sister told you? Xiaobei was moved by the story and decided to let Shuichiro Watanabe go. Otherwise, if he really killed him, wouldn't it make the story seem unreal? What 3 kingdoms? Shuichiro Watanabe was confused. The romance of the 3 kingdoms. It's much more exciting than the romance of the 3 kingdoms. It's the 3 kingdoms of Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and Sun Quan. As for Wei, Shu, and Wu, in the end, that kid surnamed Sima succeeded. It became the West Jin Dynasty and the East Jin Dynasty. This is another story. Xiaobei counted with his fingers and told Shuichiro Watanabe. Shuichiro Watanabe shook his head. Xiaobei was very regretful. You really haven't heard of it? It's the rolling Yangtze River flowing to the east, the waves washing away the heroes. The mountains are still there, and the sunset is still red. So many things in the past and present are all jokes. Sister told us about the 3 kingdoms period. It's very interesting. I'll find someone to organize it and print it into a book. I'll sell it to you at a cheap price, okay? Xiaobei told Shuichiro Watanabe the part where Han Zei was almost killed by Cao Cao, the part where Lu Bu wanted to kill Chen Deng, the plot of Sun Quan and Deng Zhi, and so on. Watanabe Juichiro listened to Xiaobei tell him about laughing from one storyline to another. He finally understood why he was still alive. Xiaobei had placed him in the story and was playing with him. Shuichiro Watanabe was angry and shocked. He was angry that Xiaobei and the others treated him as a toy. He was shocked that Xiaobei could remember so many things and selectively pick out the plot of such a long story. The so-called romance of the 3 kingdoms story couldn't be done without great wisdom and courage. I see. Zhang Xiaobei's 9 children usually learn these things. No wonder they're so good. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao are really good. In order to let their younger siblings learn more knowledge, they actually made history into stories to teach. How much effort did they put in? It can't be blamed that the adults of the 2 families let Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan take care of the 9 children. The things they teach are really different. Compared to the children of the Tang Dynasty and the Emperor of the Tang Dynasty, what Xiaobei and the other 9 children taught can be 1 in 10. Who can teach like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? However, Wang Wan usually had to teach military lessons to the generals of the Tang Dynasty, adjust the deployment of the Tang Dynasty's army, and help Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to be mentioned. He was in charge of a large area in the northern part of Hebei province, his family's business, the operation of the Tang Bank, and the application of technology. Where did they get the time to make up stories? If it were an ordinary person, they would have been exhausted to death. Could it be that the legends were true? The 2 of them were extraordinary and divine, immortal. I heard that Zhang Xiaobao still had time to play cards and cook. The most important thing was that he was still scheming against Xinluo and Japan, where he was. According to the current situation, the 2 of them are planning to train Xiaobei's 9 children in the same way as them. If that's the case, how can others live? Watanabe Juichiro thought about it. The fact that he had just survived made him feel no longer happy. With Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, when could Japan turn over? At this time, Xiaobei had already recovered from the excitement of telling stories. Seeing that Watanabe Juichiro lowered his head and didn't say anything, he said, "Well, Juichiro, you can go. Go back quickly. Otherwise, don't blame me if you are caught again." Shuichiro Watanabe followed Xiaobei's words and replied, "Oh." He turned around and was about to leave when he suddenly stopped and turned his head unwillingly. He said to Xiao Bei, "I have one more thing. I wonder if Master Zhang can let me say it." Chapter 939. Knowing that his life was in danger, Watanabe didn't seem to want to return empty-handed, but he still said this to Xiao Bei. Even though Xiao Bei was a genius, he couldn't figure out what Watanabe was thinking. He wanted to refuse, but he was afraid that Watanabe would think he was scared, so he tried to maintain the demeanor of an official and nodded. "Go ahead." Watanabe was waiting for this effect. His psychological activity was actually very simple. He was unwilling to fail like this, and he was unwilling to fail in front of a group of children. He was afraid that once he left today, he would no longer have the courage to stay in Tang, or rather, the face. "Come on, I have something to do." Xiao Bei saw that Watanabe was not happy to speak, so he urged him. Hearing Xiao Bei's urging, Watanabe became more confident, thinking that a child was a child after all and was not calm enough. So he suppressed his unhappiness and asked, "Lord Zhang, do you really think that your Zhang family and Wang family are invincible?" Xiao Bei thought it would be a difficult question. When he heard the question, he curled his lips disdainfully, reached out to ask the person next to him for a jelly, sucked it into his mouth, rubbed it between his cheeks a few times, and smacked it a few times, saying, "You were scared just now. What do you mean that my Zhang family and Wang family are invincible? You should say that Uncle Emperor's Tang Empire is very powerful. I don't know whether Tang Empire is invincible or not, but I know that it's very easy to deal with Japan. Are you done? Then you can go." Watanabe couldn't help but gasp. This little girl was not ordinary. She even knew this. He didn't know that what he said was the most common thing in the Zhang family and Wang family. Xiao Bei and the other 8 people had heard their brother and sister tell them more than once that they couldn't stand out. Unless it was in business, no matter what they did, they had to think of the Emperor and Tang Empire first. Even if they met a person on the road whose dry rations had become moldy and needed to give him something, they had to represent the Emperor and the Tang Empire. That was why Xiao Yuan said, under the leadership of Zhang Xiao Bei, so smoothly during the meeting of the Standing Committee. His sister, Wang Wan, understood this very well. Even Xiao Yuan understood this, let alone Xiao Bei, who specialized in this kind of problem. Watanabe Juichiro realized that he had miscalculated. He shouldn't have asked such a question at all. Thinking about how Zhang Xiaobei had just agreed to let him go, he regained his courage and asked again, "Lord Zhang, don't you worry about your family?" As if he was afraid that Xiaobei wouldn't move, Watanabe Juichiro explained, "For example, if someone from the inner yard goes out to do something or buy something, they can't possibly bring hundreds of people with them like you, right? We can't. Our family can't spare too many people to protect all the members of the inner courtyard. The only thing we can do is help fight back when the inner courtyard is bullied. Not to mention the inner courtyard, even the villagers are the same. For example, a few days ago, my family's farmer had his leg broken by someone in the vicinity of Luoyang. At that time, the area under my family's control was not enough, so I only received the news when I entered the small river. Afterwards, my family dispatched the most elite people of the Dai medical school to receive him, and within 24 hours, they went to the place where he was beaten and broke many people's legs. Then there were people who paid the price with their lives. Our family wants to tell others that they must not have any ideas about our family. Otherwise, we won't rest until we're dead. Even if it's a dog in our family, not just anyone can provoke it. Our family's strategy is that if people don't offend us, we'll offend them first. If anyone dares to stare at us, we'll confiscate their property and exterminate their family." Xiaobei followed his words and waved his hand. Watanabe Juichiro heard the sound of a gunshot, and 4 bullet holes appeared under his feet. Looking at the 2 people beside Zhang Xiaobei who were using special guns, Watanabe Juichiro understood that the 2 of them had each fired 2 shots. Because they were too fast and fired at the same time, he only heard 1 gunshot. Watanabe Juichiro was startled. He took 2 deep breaths and calmed down. He wasn't afraid that Zhang Xiaobei would kill him. Zhang Xiaobei had already said to let him go, so he thought that Zhang Xiaobei wouldn't go back on his word. He was surprised by Zhang Xiaobei's intelligence. She immediately understood what he was going to say. He was just about to threaten the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family, and she said that it was the village. And the truth was so. Didn't the Zhang family and Wang family dispatch their elites for a village? It turned out that at that time, the Zhang family and Wang family thought about what might happen today. They told the world not to use their family's servants to open a gap. Bien ichi. Xiaobei decided to go all out. Bien ichi. Do you want to touch my family's people? You can try and see if my sister's words count. What words? Watanabe Juichiro was still thinking about the village. If you kill one of my people, I'll slaughter your village. Xiao Yuan said from the side. Suddenly, Watanabe Juichiro remembered what Wang Wan said when she was killing in Tubo. Blood flowed like rivers and corpses were piled up like mountains. In that battle, all the countries around the Tang Empire were afraid. She asked if they dared, and all the men bowed their heads in fear. Even if Watanabe Juichiro was afraid, he didn't want to admit it. He argued, then what if your people are in Japan? Now there are already people in Japan, and they are the family of the guilty official. They have been taken in by you. After a while, you will know the result. Brother promised sister that within a month, he can mobilize the logistics of 1 million soldiers for sister to go on an expedition. I'm not scaring you. Xiaobei spoke to Watanabe Juichiro with an expression that said, I'm scaring you. After hearing Xiaobei and Xiao Yuan's words, Watanabe Juichiro decided that when he returned, he would reformulate his strategy and put the 9 children in an important position. Those things will be taken care of by others. Watanabe Juichiro no longer talked about topics that didn't benefit him. He changed the topic. Lord Zhang and Zhang family are rich and can win people's hearts more than ordinary people. However, what if a certain country can win people's hearts with the power of a country? What certain country? You're talking about Japan. How much money do you have in Japan? Give each person 5 coins or 10 coins. Xiaobei took another jelly and stuffed it into his mouth. Give each person 50,000 strings of coins. How much meat did Lord Zhang say it could buy? Watanabe Juichiro vowed to suppress Xiaobei and regain some face. Xiaobei stretched his neck and swallowed the jelly. My inner courtyard doesn't need to spend money to eat meat. How many clothes can you buy? Watanabe Juichiro asked again. My inner courtyard doesn't need to spend money to wear clothes. Xiaobei waved his hand. Then how many medicinal herbs can you accumulate? My inner courtyard doesn't need to spend money to treat illnesses. How about building a house? My inner courtyard has a wedding reception building. And... okay, don't say any more. It's useless. You don't have anything in Japan. You're so poor. How can you treat illnesses? Do you have the medical skills of our Dei hospital? Our family is very good to the inner courtyard. If there's a small matter in the inner courtyard, everyone will help. You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand. When Han Xianfeng fell ill in Tubo, our family sent people from Lingnan Road to deliver sesame oil. We'll specially develop a food called instant noodles for an inner courtyard member who's allergic to canned food and let him eat it on the road. You can't imagine it at all. Your self-righteous small favors are useless. Xiao Yuan, you tell Bien Yi. Xiaobei appeared to be impatient. Okay. Xiao Yuan continued, you just said that Japan can't take out much money in a year. You want to bribe my inner courtyard? Do you want to bribe the people of the dragon with pigs? Do you want to use barley to buy meat? Do you want to use coarse hemp clothes to give brocade pouches and jade belts? Do you want to build a straw hut and give silk mattresses and satin quilts? Our family values loyalty, but we don't use loyalty to coerce loyalty. If our family is loyal to us, we will be loyal to them. Loyalty to one side is not loyalty. Loyalty to one side is mutual loyalty. Loyalty to one side is standing in the middle. Those who are in the middle are neither right nor left. Those who assist the master have not forgotten and have a gua in their heart. When the gua protects the subordinate, it is difficult for the subordinate to rebel. Water can't cover the floating waves, but it doesn't worry about fish passing by with the wind. Silkworms can't stay in the mulberry trees, but it doesn't suffer. When the rain comes, the ants move their nest, and the swallow pecks at the clouds. How can small prophets hide the moon? The stars have their own harmony. Xiao Yuan was finally satisfied. Her tongue-twisting words made Shuichiro Watanabe take a few steps back. He tripped and sat on the ground. It seems that they've already taught me. Since I was a child, I've been told to be good to the servants. In that case, the path of bribery won't work. It's better to go back quickly and think about it at length. Shuichiro Watanabe stood up. He didn't care about his dirty clothes and said to Xiaobei, "Lord Zhang, I still have something to do. We'll meet again in the future." "Okay, we'll meet again. Next time, bring enough money. I'll sell you something more fun. I'll give you a 20% discount." Xiaobei waved his hand. Shuichiro Watanabe left with the doll he bought for 3,000 strings of cash. The only other thing he gained was that he knew that he had to pay attention to the 9 children of the Zhang family and Wang family. "He's leaving just like that?" The children in the village looked at Shuichiro Watanabe across the bridge and asked Xiaobei. "I can't treat him to a meal. I'm afraid he won't be willing to pay for it. Wait a minute, I'll change my clothes," Xiaobei said to the children in the village. He asked someone to set up a temporary shed and went in to change his clothes. No one knew what happy things he thought of, but he giggled from time to time. He seemed to be very happy. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in Hongnong County didn't know what happened in Old Willow Village. They didn't receive the news that Xiaobei sold a doll for 3,000 strings of cash. The two of them were still dealing with the mess that the Japanese had created this time. The entire Hunan province was under military control. The officials involved were arrested one after another. Some of the officials didn't know what was going on when they were arrested because they didn't receive timely information. Information was constantly being gathered in Hongnong County. There were endless cases of embezzlement. Fortunately, there was no one as bold as Yen Zhang who dared to destroy the embankment. This was a consolation. From top to bottom, they're rotten to the core. Even after so many layers of relationships, we still can't find a clean one. Only now do I realize that Li Longji is a good person. He's willing to be ruthless. He's not afraid of causing a negative impact, and he's not afraid of making a big deal out of it. At the very least, he's willing to admit his guilt. He's never shirked his responsibility. He's not the kind of person who feigns ignorance and acts innocent. He's also not the kind of person who spouts empty words to deceive his own people. Zhang Xiaobao was speaking smoothly when he was interrupted by Wang Wan. Okay, stop insinuating. Even if you don't like it, you can't control that time and space. You made Li Longji sound like a flower. Is it that exaggerated? I didn't see how ruthless he was. How is he not ruthless? If he wasn't ruthless, he would have sent our Xiaobei here. If we didn't come, Xiaobei would have killed her way to the seaside. If she had a boat, it wouldn't be strange for her to kill her way to Japan. Anyway, she doesn't lack people to command. With Xiaobei's personality, she doesn't care how big the situation is. She will kill anyone who dares to stop her. Speaking of his sister, Zhang Xiaobao's mood became cheerful. Wang Wan's lips also curled up. Of the 9 children, only Xiaobei could make a fuss. With her brother and sister behind her, there was nothing she didn't dare to do. What about the Japanese? Do we arrest them too? Wang Wan suddenly asked. There is no reason to arrest the Japanese, unless there is evidence to prove that the Japanese knew that their actions would cause great losses to our Tang Empire. However, I don't think they will admit to it. At the same time, our Tang Empire didn't explicitly state that the Japanese were wrong. They just wanted to sell futures and buy futures warrants. Yes, it's not mature and perfect. They didn't force Yan Zheng to destroy the dikes or force the other officials to keep all kinds of money. Zhang Xiaobao was very distressed. He didn't want to directly accuse the Japanese of some groundless crime, and he didn't want to accuse them of criticizing him. That would make him appear too incompetent. This time, he had used the army and official positions because it involved the officials of the Tang Empire. If there were no officials involved, he wouldn't even use the army and official positions. Wasn't it just a flawed futures and warrants? He couldn't deal with them. Wang Wan also understood Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts. She advised, "Are you troubled? Why don't we stop and let someone else arrest them and accuse them? Speaking of which, I really admire the Japanese for coming up with such an idea. Do you think we can set up futures in the Tang Empire?" Absolutely not. With the current production technology and communication technology, if we really manage to produce futures, I don't have to do anything else other than collect information every day to see who is maliciously speculating and who is a farmer who has wheat soaked in the rain. Then, due to the lack of information in the process of hedging against losses in futures, I won't be able to make the delivery in time or increase the cost or be pressured into selling short. Then what should I do? Just watch and do nothing? If they really know, I really can't do anything. I'm just afraid that they don't know much. If I teach them, they won't be able to learn and they will be used by others. Then, the stocks will appear again. Well, at that time, I began to constantly improve the system and constantly compete with the smart people. Then, tell me, if I saw a big cake in front of me, and others were looking for delicious cream in it, would I personally take a bite? Even though Zhang Xiaobao often used this to make money, he also had a headache because it was impossible to have a perfect system. He didn't think that the people of Great Tang were stupid. It was just that he had gathered the wisdom of many people. Zhang Xiaobao also knew that it wasn't the Japanese who thought of this idea. In fact, many businessmen in Great Tang also knew that they could set up futures to cheat money. They were afraid that Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't allow it, so they didn't do so. But as more things were opened up, it would be more difficult for him. He wasn't afraid of any competition. Who was he afraid of in the past? He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to handle it. He wanted to control the entire economy of Great Tang. At the very least, it couldn't be chaotic now. Thus, the simpler the rules, the better. Wang Wan nodded. That's right. If that's the case, it will tire you to death. You can only manage one side and keep blocking the loopholes. I believe that the smart businessmen of Great Tang will keep taking advantage of the loopholes. The talents we need haven't been nurtured yet. Otherwise, when there's a problem here, you come over. When there's a problem elsewhere, you go over. In the end, you can't do anything well. It's like a screen of brains appearing at the same time in a game of whack-a-mole. It's scary just thinking about it. That's right. I'm not a god. You let others set the rules while I speculate. That's too simple. I can make a lot of money. But you let me set the rules and guard against others. That's impossible to guard against. Just the Great Tang Bank alone has taken up a lot of my energy, and this is because the bank has few functions. Zhang Xiaobao was a little helpless. There were times when a person's strength was limited. After thinking about it, he said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Capture the officials involved and hand them over to the imperial court. Let the Japanese go and speed up our plan. Let the businessmen of Jiangnan East move faster. Vigorously develop tourism in Japan and help them find more jobs. At the same time, help them sell more raw materials in exchange for Great Tang's foreign exchange." Wang Wan wrote down Zhang Xiaobao's words in her notebook. After thinking for a moment, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "If you want the businessmen of Jiangnan East to enter Japan faster and more smoothly, you can't directly say to let the Japanese go. You have to put pressure on them. Let them feel afraid. When the time comes, let the businessmen of Jiangnan East to talk to the Japanese. They can talk to you and help you get rid of the disaster by spending money. You won't really use Beibei's money and not give it to them, right? We agreed that the Japanese would bear the losses of our country. Yes, in the end, we have to return the money to Beibei and the others. It's not easy for them to earn money. The New Year's money is all kowtowing during the New Year, but they can take it out for the people. They are the real descendants of the Red. Compared to... Stop. Don't mention things that are too far away. You can't change anything even if you scold them every day. In this absurd era where people have lost faith and morality, everything is irreversible. You finally admit it. I'm very happy because I feel that I'm not a criminal. At least I have a trace of nobility. I'm not a judge, but I won't allow you to continue. Otherwise, I'll make you look at the moon. ********** Xiao Bei and the others didn't know that the money they had taken out would be recovered, but they didn't care. Money was only useful when they were doing what they wanted to do. It wasn't usually useful. How could they not eat when their pocket money was gone? They still played when they wanted to play and have fun when they wanted to. After changing their clothes, Bei Bei and the others once again joined the work of making dolls. After solving the problem of the cost of the cement road in Old Willow Village, Bei Bei began to discuss with others how to spend the rest of the money. 3,000 strings of coins. It's not enough to build the road. 1,000 strings of coins is enough. Think about it, what should we use it for? At this moment, Bei Bei's pierced hand didn't hurt anymore. He pressed the grass seeds into the dolls one by one and asked for others' opinions. You're the one who sold it. You can keep it for yourself. The little girl who helped Bei Bei with the dolls earlier suggested. This time, she was completely relieved. Bei Bei didn't put on the airs of an official anymore. He was still the same Bei Bei who said that the fried mushrooms were delicious and took out oil. When he ate the fried mushrooms together, his mouth was covered in oil. Bei Bei, who was pressing the grass seeds, pressed a few more. Let the hair grow longer. That money doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to our Old Willow Village International Development Group. Besides, 2,000 strings of coins is useless to me. It's not enough for me to renovate the house. Sister Bei Bei, they all said that you have a big house and it's very beautiful. They can even follow you, right? The little girl was curious. Bei Bei didn't know how to seal the dolls, so he passed them to others and nodded. Yes, there are two. One is small, and the other is big. The small one can't enter. The small one is actually better than the big one. It has a matching dynamic balance. This time, we came out in a hurry and didn't bring the house. I have to think of a way to go back and ask Uncle Emperor for one. 3 million strings of coins. Will he give it to you? If he doesn't give it to me, I'll stay in the capital every day. If there's a court session, I'll attend it and scare the officials to death. Bei Bei waved her fist. The other children only knew that there was a morning court session in the capital, but they didn't know the specific situation. They felt that it was very strange, so a little boy came over and asked, "Morning court session? I heard that they are all high-ranking officials. Who is afraid of you?" It should be said that who is not afraid of us? We are also high-ranking officials. We patrol the Tang Empire and can impeach all the officials. Last time, when I went against my father, I was almost beaten when I went home. Fortunately, I avoided it quickly. The 9 of us together can even remonstrate with Uncle Emperor. It's just that we don't have the chance. Uncle Emperor is actually very easy to talk to. All the officials that the 9 of us arrested have all been heavily sentenced. We can't embarrass Uncle Emperor in front of so many officials in the court, right? Bei Bei still didn't understand the cruelty of the struggle in the court. None of the officials in the court would do anything to her. First of all, they didn't dare. It was easy to bully children. No matter how smart Bei Bei was, when they thought of the consequences of bullying Bei Bei's 9 children, all the officials would remain silent. The officials believed that whoever bullied Bei Bei and the others would definitely face the overwhelming attacks of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. First, the benefits would be withdrawn. Then, there would be people gathering comprehensive evidence. It would definitely be a situation where they wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Second, of course, it was a crime to bully such cute children. If one thought that they were capable, then they could directly deal with Zhang Zhong, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan. In the end, they vented their anger on the children and made Bei Bei speechless. No one would think that they were capable. Even the Emperor would look at them differently. The consequences would be very serious. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.